hall where we celebrated and discussed about our regional literatures and translations. It is an honor to open this technical session of the national seminar, and as we navigate the globalized era, the Vocal for Local movement serves as a vital catalyst for reclaiming indigenous narratives and centering marginalized voices. This session explores how translations acts not merely as a linguistic bridge, but as a political act of preservation and cultural reimagining. By spotlighting regional aesthetics and vernacular wisdom, our presenters today will examine the transformative power of the local literature and the regional literatures in shaping a more inclusive literary landscape. Now, I invite Dr. Prabhamai Samantrai ma'am to give the plenary address for this technical session, and we declare the technical session open, and after this, we will be having our presenters with us shortly. Ma'am, please.
Thank you very much, Sucheta ma'am. Good afternoon, everyone, in this post-lunch session. It a little delayed, 20 minutes delayed. We had to see off two of our eminent guests. Well, without taking much of your time, I would jump directly on the topic. I would discuss about the things that Professor Sachidananda sir has already touched and pointed and discussed those points, that theoretical aspect of translation, which is very important if you want to be a translator. I would discuss on that, and of course I have taken 2-3 books that have been already translated in Odia, and I'll discuss the nuances and give a little bit of examples. That's what I'm going to do. I'll take hardly 30 minutes. So what is a translator? I would say it'll be a very befitting thing, vocal for local, reimagining literature and translation in 21st century. So before jumping to this topic, I would like to let you know what is a translator. In fact, you know, when you tie the hands and legs of a person and push him to the pool and ask him to swim, it's a very difficult job. He cannot swim. He has very restrictions. He would try a lot to come back to the shore. That is the job, I think, is of the translator. The first-hand author, the author has all kinds of liberty. He has the liberty to choose the genre, to choose the topic, the context, the characters, the themes, the chapters, the scenes, the acts, the narration, the explanation, everything. He can choose anything. But a translator's job is very restricted. He needs to be in the scope, in the boundary, and then create something as beautiful as the original text. So I think translator's job is more important, more difficult than the author. But the regret is that we don't give that much of respect to the translator. Translator is, in fact, it's considered as a second-hand writer. They're not given that due. We don't value the translator. We see who's the first author, who's the author who has written the book, rather than who is the translator. I have translated a few of the poetry collections from Hindi to Odia, but the credit, most of the time, the credit goes to the author. So that's what I have felt, that the translators need to be given justice. It's a very important work, because through translation you come to know about Russia, about Italy, about the different parts of the globe. Without translation, it's not easy to know those literatures, those cultures, or Enlightenment, or the Renaissance is very difficult. So that is the role of, that is the function of, that is the person who we could say translator. And what translation is, as Sachi sir said, before jumping into translation, you need to have the theoretical knowledge. Theoretical knowledge, in fact, sharpen your work. Without knowing that theory, if you go for doing the translation, that would not be a kind of justified work. You cannot cannot give justice to that work. So I will in a nutshell tell about some theories, post-colonial theories that especially inspired me, and the first first theorist is André Lefebvre. André Lefebvre, he is a man from Belgium, He was born in 1945 and died in 1996. In fact, he argues that translation is not a neutral linguistic activity. Instead, he defines translation is a form of rewriting. Translation is a form of rewriting. He in fact is talking, how is the translation nowadays? He in fact is talking about the controlling factors of rewriting. Which factors control the rewriting process? And the core idea is all translations are rewriting of an original text shaped by ideology, politics, and power. These three things, in fact, color the rewriting process. That means a translated text does not simply transfer meaning, but reconstructs the source text according to the cultural, political, and literary norms of the target society. The target society comes to the center. So the three things that he stressed upon, that is ideology, poetics, and power. The first thing is ideology, and these I am talking about the controlling factors of rewriting. Ideology, how does it factor, how does it control rewriting? In ideology, you would find political beliefs, moral values, religious views, gender norms. Sometimes the translator may suppress ideas that clash the dominant ideology. When you choose a target language, sometimes the translator suppresses the ideas of the source language that clash with the dominant ideology in the target language. And what he does, highlights the ideas that support it. Sometimes that controls the rewriting process. And what about poetics? Poetics like genre expectations, narrative style, language register, and themes. What happens sometimes, translator may modify a form or style, adapt metaphors and narrative techniques also, like an experimental feminist novel may be rewritten into a very traditional narrative to suit the mainstream readership. Many of the times, a vibrant voice from the source text is changed to a traditional narrative technique in the target text so that it could be readable, it could be accepted by the reading public of the target language. That's what sometimes is done. And then he talks about power or patronage. Patronage you would see like publishers, institutions, governments, religious bodies, funding agencies, where you get the fund to do the translation. In fact, they control a lot of things. They decide what gets translated. They also decide how it gets translated. They also decide whether it is going to be published or not. So they control everything. Example, if a state-sponsored translation work is done, the translator may omit the subversive anti-national elements. If the fund has come from the nation-sponsored bodies, then that translation would obviously avoid the anti-national elements. That may be vibrant, that may be the spirit of the text, but that is subsided. Then what this kind of rewriting, what does it make? It sometimes creates canon formation. A canon is formatted because through translation, some authors become classic. Some authors are so highlighted that they are treated like classic writers and their creations are treated as classic text. And others remain invisible. So they created a canon. And what they do, sometimes they also do a kind of marginalization of voices. Like you could say the subaltern voices, subsiding the dominant voices of the text into the target language. And what they do, he also talks about the construction of literary history. We form a kind of history that we want to read, not the exact history, not the equivalent thing represented in the target language. That is, he is talking, these things control in the process of rewriting. Then another theorist, I would say Lawrence Venuti, that Sachi sir was also talking about. Three important things are there I would very much like to discuss. He in fact introduces the concepts of domestication, foreignization, and these two terms he used for translation, and how it gives the position to translator, the text and the target culture. What position translation gives to the translator, to the text and the target culture. And at the center of Venuti's theory, there is the critique of translator's invisibility, another important word, invisibility of the translator. So the first thing, domestication. What is domestication? I'll make it very clear. Domestication means you make it like at your home. When you read an American text in Odia, you find everything like Odia culture. You think that the text has been written in Odia firsthand. Or when an English reader reads an Odia text in English, he feels like it is firsthand written in English, not in Odia. That is domestication. You kill all the cultural, literary, traditional nuances, make it domesticated, make it reader friendly, make it widely accepted. That is domestication. You make it popular, make it well accepted. You kill all the stiffness. That is domestication. So domestication makes the text read fluently, naturally in the target language. When you read, you feel like it's been written in that language itself. It's very fluent, it's very natural. It adapts cultural references to familiar norms. The cultural differences has been changed to familiar norms. When something is translated from Odia to English, to make the English reader understand what cultural nuances Odia literature has, they use certain words that the English people could easily understand. And in that way, they kill the Odia essence. And what they do, they minimizes the foreignness of the source text. Foreignness, do you understand? What is not familiar to you. They kill that foreignness of the source language text to the target language. And then what are the features? It makes the translation smooth, transparent language, culture substitution, and then familiar idioms, expressions are used, reader friendly. These you could find when domestication is happening in translation. Very easy, very popular, very accepted, nothing is difficult there. You find the text itself is written in the target language in the first hand Ajib. But what do you do by doing that domestication? It erases cultural differences. People, reader don't come to know that Odia is also a culture. Russian literature has also different culture than Anglo-American region. Russia, in the different parts of the globe, they have different cultures. We don't come to know if we always go on explaining everything in English. I'll tell you one thing. Recently, a scholarly paper about Baldevju temple tradition has got accepted in Oxford University. Why? I'll let you know. Before getting accepted in Oxford University, that journal paper has already been rejected many times in Odisha and different parts of India. But it got selected in Oxford University. Why? Because they are not acquainted with the temple culture, and especially of Odisha and then Baldevju temple. That's why that's a very new thing, westernization. This is a different thing, and that got selected. So you need to keep that genuineness of your culture. But when you do domestication, you kill that. You erase all cultural differences. It reinforces dominant cultural values. Especially, we value the Anglo-American norms. We always, since the time immemorial, when translation is done, we always consider that English translation is the best translation. And we always try to make the English readers know that everything is according to them. No, everything is not according to them. There are different parts of the globe still existing. They have different cultures, they have different languages, and they are equally or even better than English culture or Anglo-American norms, values, cultures, what you could say. So we need to retain that. And what is it that? It makes the translator invisible. Translator's job, I said, is a very difficult job. Very difficult job because you don't have any liberty, any freedom. And being in constraints, you have to create something beautiful. And your job, your effort, your work is not visible. You are considered like you have written in target language. So when we do domestication of our work, translation, it makes the translator invisible. He is not credited the due that he has done. And then what foreignization means? It preserves the strangeness of the source text, retains all cultural markers, idioms, syntax, makes the reader aware of cultural differences. What then exactly happens? The readers, in fact, they are moved towards the source culture, not the other way around. They would be more inquisitive to know about the source text, their culture, rather than focusing on the target culture. In that way, you would focus on your own culture. So what are the features? Retention of source cultural terms. Cultural terms would be remain as it is sometimes. It sometimes become non-fluent, slightly resistant language, slightly difficult for the readers, especially of English, to read. But that difficulty is very befitting, because if you want to know a literature, you need to know its culture, its tradition, its values, its belief, its philosophy. Many things you need to know to understand a particular text and the writer's perspective. That is the job of a reader to know. And it shows the cultural specificity. Your culture has its own norms, it would be shown. Visibility of the translator. The translator's work is visible. He is given the due as a translator. He has done this difficult work, and he's been awarded, or he's been accepted as a translator. He's been given the due that he has done that work. So what exactly Venuti advocates in foreignness? That as a translator, you need to keep foreignization. And it is an ethical choice, a resistance to cultural dominance, a way to respect marginalized cultures. Marginalized cultures, you know, many traditional tribal culture is there, minority culture are there, many subaltern people are there. Their voices are totally mute. They are not given a chance to speak. Those voices need to be retained exactly as it is. So Venuti says that fluency equal to invisibility, and invisibility hides the translator's labor and ideology. So foreignization should be retained. What it would do, it would break the fluency, but acknowledge the differences in between the cultures, in between the two languages, in between the two sections, two parts of the nations. And challenging reader comfort. It may not be that easy for you to understand. You know, the first time I read Anna Karenina, first 50 pages, I had to struggle to remember that this name is a boy's name, this name is a girl's name, and this is his wife, this is his husband. First 50 pages, if you could resist, then you would enjoy the thick book. Anna Karenina is a beautiful story. But only if you resist the 50 pages, you would enjoy the story. That 50 pages is a struggling period. Because from my point was, from their name, I was not clear who's the girl and who's the boy. In our culture, Kunu, Munu, Runu, Dhunu, you could easily understand who's a girl and who's a boy. But they're having such names, I don't realize what is the boy's name, what is the girl's name. That was my difficulty. I had to struggle for first 30 to 50 pages, and then it was a point to enjoy. And then I would go to the most popular voice in post-colonial translation studies, that is Gayatri Chakraborty Spivak. She exactly is not a technical theorist talking about how to do translation, but she in fact talked about why to do translation and for whom we translate. These two things she talked about. And the core idea is translation is an ethical responsibility. She stressed on the word ethical responsibility. For Spivak, translation is an intimate ethical act, not a neutral transfer of meaning. And translation must listen to the text, not dominate it. You need not dominate the text. You need to know and listen the voice of the text. So a translator's duty is, responsibility is towards the author, the language, the cultural other, and she is talking about the subaltern, especially women. So these 3-4 sections need to be taken into account while doing the translation. The author need to be taken into account, the language, the cultural other, especially the subaltern women. And she talked about the intimate reading as an ethical practice. Before doing a translation, a translator must be slow, patient, and intimate reader. because you need to pay attention to the syntax, to the rhetoric, to the silence, important word, silence, pause, waiting. Those three things, in fact, I omitted most of the time in translations. You need to pay attention to the syntax, to the rhetoric, to the silence, to the metaphors, to the emotional and cultural nuances. Then only you could translate those things to the target language. What else you need to have? You need to have perfect knowledge in source language. And then you need to know the literary traditions of the source language, the gendered idioms of the source language. Without knowing this, if you go for translating, she said that you are committing ethical violence. Without this knowledge, if you go for translating, you are committing ethical violence. So she criticizes that translation is not merely a text accessibility, or it is not the dominance of the global or imperial or Anglo-American language or anything else, or market-driven translation of post-colonial literature. Many of the times the translator, in fact, focus on the thing that would easily be accepted in the target language and does the translation that way. No, that should not be the way of the translation. And Spivak famously asked her famous question, can the subaltern speak? The first early version came in 1985 and the standard version came in 1988. So in translation, the answer is yes, the subaltern can speak, but often her voice is made elite or sanitized. She can speak, but her voice is often made elite and sanitized. She is not given a particularly chance to be heard. Mark my word, to be heard. Subaltern voices are not particularly to be heard. And what is the positive points of being heard and what is the consequences of not being heard? I'll let you know. I'll tell you one interview of Meghan Markle. You know the Meghan Markle, important actor of American TV, Bollywood, Hollywood industry. She is an activist, she is a feminist, she is an actor. She, in her interview, one of her interviews, she said about one of the incidents that made her a feminist and an activist. I have told this story a few times, but still then it is a befitting time to repeat the story. So when she was in her school, they were watching a television program. And in that, during the program, there was an advertisement. And that advertisement was from the Procter & Gamble dishwashing liquid company. And the advertisement was like this. Women all over America are fighting with greasy pots and pans in the kitchen. Two boys were there in her classroom. They smirked, they smiled, they said, yes, in the kitchen. That is the place the women belong to. She was hurt. She was deeply hurt. She was surprised, shocked. She went back to her home, she told her father, and her father suggested her, you need to write letters. So in her tiny mind of 11 years old, what she did, she thought to write letters to the influential people who were on power. And then she thought, if I want to make the influential people know, I must write letters to the ladies first. So her first letter was to the First Lady, Hillary Clinton, because Bill Clinton was the president of America during that time. She wrote letters to Hillary Clinton, to Linda Ellerby, to Clara Harris. These three women were sent letters. And also, she wrote a letter to the Procter & Gamble company. To her surprise, after 1 week, she got letters of appreciation from Hillary Clinton, Linda Ellerby, and Clara Harris. All three of them appreciated her job and sent a media to cover her story. And to her more surprise, after approximately 1 month, that R from the Procter & Gamble company got changed. From women all over America are fighting with greasy pots and pans in the kitchen to people all over America are fighting with greasy pots and pans in the kitchen, from women to people. So you could understand what is the importance of being heard. She realized that a tiny effort can bring a huge change. She realized that no attempt is less. She realized that yes, at this tiny age also I can be heard by the important people. I can be also a lesson to many people who could listen to me, my story, and get inspired. So that is the importance of being heard. You can bring big changes if you are being heard. It brought a consciousness in her that in her later age she became an activist, a feminist. That is the importance of being heard. And consequences of not being heard. I'll tell you one story. I forgot the name of the novel, but there is a girl who is from a joint family system. She has never gone to school alone. She has never eaten alone. She has never slept alone because she has many uncles and aunts, nieces and nephews at her home. Always one or two guests would be available in her home. She's always in the company. A girl never faced loneliness. And finally she got married to a software engineer who is working in Bangalore. After the marriage, the husband took the lady to Bangalore. And the husband goes to office from 7 a.m. in the morning to 8 p.m. in the evening. And what does the lady do? The lady has not got a chance in her life to sit alone. Here, throughout the day, she just sits at home, sleeps, watches TV, scrolls mobile phone, and nothing to do. And let me tell you that women are entitled to speak 2,000 to 3,000 more words in a day than men. That is biological structure. God has created women that they use more words, they speak more words than men. And you took a girl from a joint family to a very situation where nobody is there whom she could communicate. She is all alone throughout the day. And what does when the husband comes back at the evening? He comes back, he gets freshened up, have some tea or coffee, scrolls mobile phone, watches some TV, have some food, have some sex and sleep. That's what he does. So that lady never got a chance to express her emotion. So ultimately, she got very frequent visitor in social media, and there she got a man whom she got very much connected emotionally. The more she got connected with the man, the more she got detached from her husband. That is the consequences when somebody is not heard. Her issue was not that she was not having food or clothes. Her issue was my husband was not giving attention to me. He was not listening me. So not being heard is also a great consequences. You need to face that if you don't hear somebody. If you make somebody to be mute, mime, and don't give her a chance to speak, you need to face the consequences. So Gayatri Spivak talks about those things that subaltern people, especially women, need to be listened to. And with Gayatri Spivak, I would relate Seri Simon. Seri Simon is from Canada. She also works for gender and translation. And then Louis von Flotow. Louis von Flotow is a German-Canadian translator and author, also a professor of translation studies at the University of Ottawa. They have also the same kind of theories about, like Gayatri Spivak. And then I have 2-3 novels that I have read and found out the issues of translation. I have read Gambhiri Ghara, that's been written by Sarojini Sahu and translated by Mohendra Kumar Das. Jagyaseni, that is translated as Yagyaseni by Pradeep Bhattacharya, and Amada Bhatta Basant Kumari Patnaik has written, and English translation is done by Supriya Basant as Untrodden Path. What I find, good translation, but some Odia essence, spirit is missing there. You know, Gambhiri Ghara, I would first salute the lady, the author, choosing for such important context for her novel. In that story, you would find one man, one woman having a relationship beyond marriage. Both are married, but to somebody else, but they are connected. Connected through letters, through emails, not physically. And that woman is Hindu, man is Muslim. And beyond that, to give you more surprise, that woman is Indian Hindu, man is Pakistani Muslim. It's a very challenging story. And that woman's name is Cookie. Cookie is married to Aniket, and they had a love marriage, but that marriage sustained, love vanished after the marriage. There is the marriage is very much alive for this society, but shattered and broken in spirit. And all those silence, all those pain, all those pause, all those waiting that Cookie had suffered, that essence somehow I find is missing. Many of the times her voices has been neutralized in translation. In fact, I would say, I don't say that it's a good thing to have a relationship beyond marriage, but it's a kind of existential need, not sexual need or kind of erotic action. It's more existential, I find. She in fact is made realized that she is nobody. She is not a individual. She's just a mother, she's just a wife, she's just a daughter-in-law. And she is made to realize that she is insufficient. She is not enough to go to outside of home alone. She cannot do any work alone. She is insufficient. But with the relationship Safiq is the Muslim man. With relationship to Safiq, she realized that the problem that I have in my relationship, in my marriage, it's not because of me. It's because of the imbalanced marital status that we have. If you go on pushing somebody that you are of no worth, no value, she would one day realize that yes, I am of no value and no worth. And that in fact made her feel so inferior that she accepted everything as her fate, as her luck. I am insufficient to be a wife, I am insufficient to be a mother, I am insufficient to be a daughter-in-law. But only when she is heard, she is respected, she is listened to, she realized that the problems is not because of me, but because of the equal give and take, the equality, the imbalance, that thing is missing, her perception is missing in the translation. And then I would say Omada Bhatta, in fact, there are three important characters, Mohibo, Maya, Kaberi. There is a movie also. I don't think that the young kids might be watching that movie, but some of the great minds present here, I could expect that they have watched the movie. Three important women characters. Without them, the novel is incomplete. Novel cannot be completed. Mohibo, what she thinks, she in fact has internalized patriarchy. She thinks that this is the job of a lady, to look after the house, look after the husband, look after the kids. And if I go beyond that, that is against my duty. Dharma, or word dharma, she thinks that this is my dharma, I cannot go beyond that. Internalized patriarchy in her own blood. And then comes Maya. You see two perspectives of Maya, before marriage and after marriage. She is a revolt before marriage. She could voice, she could say, yes, I like this, yes, I don't like this. She could voice that. But after marriage, she is a completely changed lady. She has accepted her situation, her circumstances, not because of submission, but because of the respect to keep the house intact. She is fighting inside herself. There are much turmoil inside her, but you cannot see that turmoil, and that turmoil is missing in the translation, I find. Many of the times her voice is neutralized. Her anger, her suppression, her frustration has been neutralized in translation. And Kaberi is a very intellectual lady who in fact adapts and adjusts with situation, and she is a lady who has adjusted with the situation and made it as per her own need. So these three characters, I find that they are not given a proper justification in terms of emotional transformation, that I find the translators need to give importance. That's all about the all three stories. And I had thought about telling Ramachandra Behera sir's narrations, but he is not here. No need to say that. I have taken enough time. We have some more presenters also waiting. We also would like to listen to the two great minds present on the dais. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for throwing light on who exactly is a translator, and along with that also highlighting the importance of patronage and the need of the hour, that is paying some respect to the translators because they are not given their due. And I hope through the national seminar that we are organizing today on behalf of the English department, it is a plea to all, everyone who is present as the audience or the chairperson, the teachers, the students, that we bring about some change that has been highlighted in our inaugural session by our guests, that we bring about some change that is highlighting the role of translators, the due that we give to the root literature, the root language. The translators also deserve their due, the respect, and for bringing about the prospect that every literature has its own importance, but to reach the larger audience or to reach the larger number of people, translation is very much important. So now moving forward with the technical session, I would like to call Major Manoranjan Mohanty sir, a former principal Rajnagar College and who has also been the former head of the Department of English of this college. Sir, please.
Thank you, ma'am. I would expect all the audience present here to have a very passionate hearing and also a passionate listening. Let me start with one of my well-wishers, a very renowned economist of the state, Professor Baidyanath Mishra, former VC, AVOCAL University, Professor Economics, and also Chairperson of Finance Commission of Odisha. He had addressed me a letter that was a postcard, and the date was 8th November 2014, and I got that postcard after 6 months when I was here. And what he addressed in that postcard, and I treat it as the not less than Nobel Prize. And what was the address here? Manoranjan Babu, तुमको मु जानी नहीं, मते मध्य तुमे जानी नथिबो, तुमको जने छात्र भावी तमे बोली संबोधन करूछि, हुए तो भूल होई पारे, तमर अनुवादटी संवादरू पढ़िले, रविवार संवाद जो साहित्य पृष्ठा बाहरे से अनुवादटा को पढ़ी सारिकी से मो पाखु के चिठीटी लिखिथिले नवेम्बर 2014 रे। तमर अनुवादटी संवादरू मु पढ़िली, भलो लागिला, चॉइस ऑफ सिलेक्शन ऑफ द आर्टिकल उत्तम, अनुवाद मध्य भलो, तुमको एतिक अनुरोध जे अनुवाद जारी रख, ये अभ्यास रहिले तमे जने उच्च कोटीर अनुवादक होई परिबो एवं पाठक माने मध्य एपरी अनुवाद पढ़ी खुशी हेबे। तुमर हिताकांक्षी प्रोफेसर बैद्यनाथ मिश्र। मुझे यहाँ को पढ़ी पिलांक आगरे, इटा भाई थिला एंटोन चेकअपकर द लैमेंट, जो गपटा तांकर बहुत चर्चित गप द लैमेंट और द ग्रीफ, तार मोर यहाँ थिला अनुवाद, मो तार देइथिली शीर्षक दुख। I was listening very seriously to my former speaker, Dr. Samant Roy. Let me quote a very humorous, fascinating definition of translation given by John Lydgate in his book Theories of Translation. What is a translation? He defines, translation is just like a mistress. If beautiful, not faithful. If faithful, not beautiful. It's very dangerous statement. Both the qualities of faithfulness and beautifulness. It's a great question for every translator. How to make the translation both faithful as well as beautiful. I recall the moment shared by Tagore in his memo, holding two books, Gitanjali in Bengali and translated English Gitanjali, in two hands after receiving Nobel Prize for Literature in 2013. And he threw away the English version. And he asked himself, what have I done for getting this Nobel Prize? Sheer aberration, distortion. I recall those two words. I repeat, sheer aberration, distortion. But he was awarded Nobel Prize. Point is, Mom was talking about the qualities of a translator. The role of a translator. He or she who has that proficiency in both source language and target language. And when we think of translating a text from source language to target, and our competence in phonology, morphology, syntax, and semantics, all the prosodic features, rhetoric aspects, it's not that easy. Let me share, in one tutorial classes, a student asked me to translate. 1992, when I was at Odisha College, अजागा घा देखी हुए नहीं कि देखे हुए नहीं. I am yet to translate. I surrender because I know the problem behind it. Impossible. Total translation one-to-one, impossible. Lydgate says the same thing. It's a process of transformation, no doubt about that. But then in the name of transformation, transforming, we very often forget the very culture behind, the emotion behind. In one of Sahitya Akademi volume, Indian Literature, the journal, during the time of late Ramakant Rath was the president then, one of my poems was Kartika Brata, that was published there. Kartika Brata. I failed to translate words like Hobisiali, Mahaprasad. Look at. We can never translate words as rightly pointed out by Professor Mohanty, and giving respect to dialect. Trying all efforts to take care of each and every dialect. Not only the standard language, because we know dialect takes the form of dialect, I know. If Fakir Mohan Senapati, I asked Professor Jatindra Monaik in Banivihar, sir, what is the title of your translated Chamana Ataguntu? Your title says 6 echoes and a third. Your title says 6 echoes and a third. I think children sitting here, I repeat the title, 6 echoes and a third. But that is not the correct measurement of 6 mana 8 gunta. जो माने जानिचंती मान केते गुंठ केते डिसमिल से हिसाब रे करि गला बेलू को टाइटल टा मैच करू नहीं. That was my question to Professor Naik, and he simply answered, it's okay, it's understood. Point is, we have to be very cautious, we have to be very honest, we have to be very faithful. So these are the qualities of a translator. Not in the name of getting any award or prize or any recognition, no. Think of the last stanza of Stopping by Woods on Snowy Evening of Robert Frost. The English version and its Odia. I equally appreciate its Odia translation. Odia अनुवादरा बहुत सुंदर है. सुंदर जेतिकी अंधार सेतिकी एही जे गहन बन तेणु तू आपणा अटल तेणु तू आपणा संकल्पे अटल अचल रहरे मन. आई रिपीट, तेणु तू आपणा संकल्पे अटल अचल रहरे मन. आगरे पड़िछि पथ बहु दूर आहुरी केते जे बाकी चालिबी चालिबी न पड़ेबी थकी मुदिबा आगरो आखि. Beautiful translation. I think here translation outwits or defeats the original lines of Frost. In my opinion, maybe personal, in my opinion, its Odia translation is better than the text English. Think of Madhusudan Rao's translation of William Cowper's The Solitude of Alexander Selkirk. Thanta morojati bihanga pakhya lange visana giri samudra vakhya dekhanti bandhu jana mukha kamala santapita mana hruda sitala. What a beautiful translation. So why I am quoting, a translation must have that competence. I am repeating that word competence. In linguistic sense, brightly coined, used by Chomsky, competence, both in source language and target language. Then translation will be both faithful and beautiful. I was listening to especially the keynote speaker in the very first session and his long very expansive lecture. And so far my observation concerned, yes, now in the context of the today's seminar's title, it's now a good news for the Indian translators. I started with Tagore, and we all know Tomb of Sand of Gitanjali is free. And winning International Booker Prize, but translated by an American lady, Daisy Rockwell. But now we are more happy to know Vanu Mustaq winning International Booker Prize, and her collection of stories translated not by a foreigner but by an Indian, Deepa Basti. My point is, translation not only a bridge, rightly pointed out by Professor Malik, it's not only a bridge. Now it has extended the horizon of cultural exchange. That is the main idea behind translation. To have a translator, I can say a translator is an ambassador of culture, an ambassador of language, literature, and custom, tradition, everything. That could be the role of a translator. And yes, I do agree with Professor Mohanty, yes, that there is a need of knowing, discovering, and glorifying cultural heritage or cultural history. That is lacking with our students here. I find students not that interested sitting here and gossiping among themselves. They don't understand the importance of all these sessions. And please listen to the helpless speakers standing before you, and take down some important points if you feel important for you. Because I know the importance of taking down notes of a speaker or a lecturer. Let me share, in 1986 in Ravenshire, I'm very fortunate to meet William Golding. He visited Ravenshire in 1986. So during his lecture, I felt helpless because my pen didn't work. So I had to use with all force. My point is, then I recalled what I had written without any ink in the pen. And my point is that seriousness. Translation, when we translate, we very often forget how to have the minimum semblance or minimum similarity between the source and target language. Sometimes we cross all the barriers and borders, and in the name of or for the sake of translation we translate. That is very dangerous in my opinion, because it's a constant practice, no doubt about that. It's a very constant practice. The more you delve and dive deep into that practice, gradually you will have that linguistic competence, and you will come to know the cultural nuances and what is missing there, the emotion sometimes we feel the missing there. Perhaps that's why Rajarao in Kendrapara, in introduction to Kendrapara, rightly says that to think and write in mother tongue is our emotional expression, and in any other language referring to English, he says it's simply intellectual makeup. So whatever may be our second language, third language, or any foreign language, but if we are very proficient and competent in our mother tongue or first language, and if we are equally a competent, proficient bilingual, but in the context of present scenario, we all must be multilingual. And definitely we are all proud of Jagyosini and Pratibha Roy. Look at to what extent the translation has gone. And the book is translated in more than, I can say, 15, 17 languages. Even in foreign languages like Polish and Hungarian and Nepalese. I mean, my point is, look at the importance of a book written in Odia and being translated to other Indian languages and also foreign languages. So point is, students of English language, literature, culture, now it's a task for you, because after knowing some poetics or rhetorics and all the theoretical aspects of translation, and you take the statistics, those who have translated from Odia to English or from English to Odia or any other Indian languages, especially it is easy for the students of language and one who has that flair for literature also. So to be competent in both language and literature, then the task of translation becomes easy. And yes, from my side, on behalf of the department, I can say, yeah, it's a very well chosen topic, and in the context of the second part, look at reimagining literature and translation. Reimagining, I think we must understand that as rightly pointed out, yes, there was time when Edward Said said all the text, if we go through that book, Orientalism, no text was written by any Indian or Asian or South Asian, or I mean, everything was thrust upon us, or we are compelled to. We didn't have any text or any literature. But post-colonial studies opened, and yes, I do agree with that there is hybridization, there is mimicry, there is ambivalence. Now, how in thinking? Again, it's a great challenge, because before, because before political hegemony and colonization, everything was pure, indigenous. Then it became, in the words of Salman Rushdie, it became, I can accord that word, bastard or illegitimate or khichdi, whatever may be the word. Then after independence, end of colonial rule, post-colonial concept starts, but are we free from the hangover? And that's why we are accused of new colonial mindset. So how to have originality in our thinking, then transforming our ideas and asserting our lost identity, that is a great challenge. Thank you, audience present here, and I think it's high time for me to take, to declare, yes, my successor, he is now invited to have his voice on this occasion. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, to highlight the importance of translation, but yet again knowing the nuances and the challenges that come about in the process of translation, and also the foregrounding of language competence, for example, both in the source and targeted language. Now I would like to call upon to the dais Dr. Saroj Mahananda, Professor, Department of English, Jamia Millia Islamia, New Delhi. Sir, kindly come to the dais and enlighten our students and the audience about your take on what translation and reimagination of literature and culture is, and also throw a light on the topic vocal for local. Sir, please. There's a slight change. Sir would be speaking to us at the end of this technical session. Now, to begin with, I would like to call upon the presenters for the first technical session. Firstly, I would like to call Afrin Firdos Firoz, PG first year student, Department of English, Barampur University. And the topic is translation as the topic is translation as a medium of cultural preservation, and she has also been an alumni of our Department of English, Kendrapara Autonomous College. The stage is yours. And I would like to highlight that each presenter would be taking 5 to 7 minutes and not exceeding the time limit. The stage is yours.
Thank you so much, ma'am. A very good afternoon to one and all present here. Respected guest of honor, chairperson, moderator, teachers, and all the dignitaries present here. I, Afrin Firdos Firoz, a student of PG first year, Barampur University, and also alumnus of this department. First of all, I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to this department for giving me this golden opportunity to present my paper on this auspicious occasion. My topic is Vocal for Local, Translation as a Medium of Cultural Preservation. In the era of globalization, cultures across the world are increasingly influenced by dominant languages and global trends. Globalization has significantly transformed the culture and linguistic landscape of the world. While it has enabled communication across the borders and facilitated the exchange of ideas, it has also contributed to the dominance of a new global languages such as English. As a result, many local languages, traditions, and cultural expression are facing the threat of marginalization or extinction. In such a context, the concept of vocal for local emerges as a powerful response that emphasizes the importance of preserving indigenous cultures and promoting regional identities. Translation plays a crucial role in this movement. It acts as a bridge between languages and cultures, enabling the local knowledge systems and literary traditions to reach a wider audience. The phrase vocal for local encourages individuals and institutions to recognize, support, and promote local products, languages, traditions, and cultural practices. Being vocal for local culture means valuing indigenous knowledge systems, oral traditions, regional literatures that represent the lived experiences of local communities. In literature and languages, vocal for local implies giving space and recognition to regional voices that are often overshadowed by dominant literary traditions. Translation becomes an essential tool in this process, as it allows local narratives to travel beyond linguistic boundaries while maintaining their cultural specificity. Thus, translation is not merely a linguistic activity but a cultural practice. A translation must interpret cultural symbols, idioms, traditions, and values and find ways to represent them meaningfully in another language. Through this process, translation helps preserve cultural memory and ensures that local traditions are not lost but reimagined for new audiences. India is one of the most linguistically diverse countries in the world, with hundreds of languages and dialects spoken across different regions. Each language represents a distinct cultural identity and literary tradition. However, many Indian languages face challenges due to the dominance of English and a few major regional languages. Translation has played a very vital role in bringing Indian regional literatures to the national and global platforms. Translations of works originally written in languages such as Tamil, Malayalam, Bengali, Hindi, Marathi, Urdu, and many tribal languages have enabled readers from different linguistic backgrounds to access these rich literary traditions. Through translation, Indian literature becomes a shared culture heritage rather than remaining confined to specific linguistic communities. One of the most contributions of translation is its ability to amplify marginalized voices. Dalit literature, tribal narratives, women's writings, and minority perspectives often remain inaccessible due to linguistic barriers. Translation enables these voices to reach broader audiences and challenges dominant narratives. By translating marginalized text, translators participate in cultural and social activism. They help preserve alternative histories and experiences that are often excluded from mainstream discourse. In this way, translation supports cultural diversity and inclusively while aligning with the spirit of vocal for local. The role of the translator extends beyond linguistic competence. A translation acts as a cultural mediator who navigates between two cultural systems. This role carries ethical responsibility as the translator must represent the source culture accurately without distortion or oversimplification. In translating local cultures, translators must be sensitive to the cultural nuances, symbols, and values. They must decide how to explain, adapt, or retain foreign elements. Through careful meditation, translators ensure that local cultures are not diluted but respected and authentically represented. Despite its importance, translation faces several challenges in the contemporary world. Globalization often promotes homogenization, where cultural differences are minimized to suit global tastes. This can lead to the loss of cultural specificity in translated text. Another major challenge is the increasing reliance on machine translation. While technology has made translation faster and more accessible, machine translation often fails to capture cultural nuances, idiomatic expressions, and emotional depth. Human translators remain essential for preserving the cultural richness of the local text. Translation can also function as a form of resistance against cultural homogenization. By translating local text on their own terms, translators challenge dominant cultural narratives and assert the value of indigenous knowledge systems. Rather than adapting local cultures to fit global norms, ethical translation practices emphasize culture difference and plurality. This approach aligns strongly with the philosophy of vocal for local, which seeks to protect cultural uniqueness while enabling cross-cultural dialogue. In the age of globalization, the survival of vocal cultures depends on conscious efforts to preserve and promote linguistic and cultural diversity. Translation emerges as a powerful medium in this process, enabling local traditions, literatures, and voices to reach wider audiences without losing their essence. By functioning as a cultural practice, translation supports the idea of vocal for local. It gives local cultures a global voice while safeguarding their originality and authenticity. Despite challenges posed by globalization and technological advancements, translation continues to play a crucial role in the cultural preservation and continuity. Recognizing and strengthening this role is essential for sustaining the rich diversity of world cultures, especially in a multilingual country like India. That's all. Thank you and have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much, Afreen, for underlining the experiences of local and regional population. When it comes to literature and culture, translation is not only a linguistic limitation, but also a cultural dynamic occurrence. Now moving on to the next presenter, I would like to call upon Dr. Mausumi Mahakut, lecturer in English, NSM City College, Raj Bagicha, Cuttack, and she'd be presenting on Sanskrit literature, our heritage. Ma'am, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Madam. Namaskar, the Chairperson, Honorable Chair, Senior Professors on the days and off the days, and my dear students. I would like to take up Sanskrit literature, which is the basis of our roots, and this culture. What is heritage? Heritage is what we inherit from one generation to another generation. Let us not forget our culture and come back to our origins, that is Sanskrit literature. In the bustling digital age of artificial intelligence, it might be surprising to find growing interest in Sanskrit. Sanskrit has an essential role to play, not just as a symbol of identity, but as a living intellectual tradition. It is a timeless current flowing beneath the surface of modern civilization, ready to nourish deeper understanding of our culture. This is possible because of translated works of ancient heritage. And now who has translated? The works have been translated and been read by Thoreau and by the American transcendentalists, as all of us know. And then T.S. Eliot was highly influenced by Brihadaranyaka Upanishads, Bhagavad Gita, and many other sacred literature, Indian sacred literature. And apart from him, W.B.S. did not leave behind. And there are many other writers and philosophers and scientists, those who have been highly influenced by our literature. And not to leave about Dara Shikoh, who in Kashi he was helped by some of the priests in Allahabad Sanskrit, which is one of the richest place for Indian Sanskrit studies. And there he read and then he translated some of the Upanishads into Urdu. Then, then we'll move to Macaulay minutes. Macaulay once said, and I'm quite ready to take the Oriental learning as a valuation of the Orientalists themselves. I have never found one among them who could deny that a single shelf of a good European library was worth the whole native literature of India and Africa, quote unquote. But this has been proved wrong. We have a rich culture and heritage, starting from children's literature, from Aesop's fables to Panchatantra. Now, this is the biggest problem that we are facing in the age of internet. We all are browsing nets, but we are not reading. Storytelling, reading helps us to think, and this thinking power is losing gradually among us children. When children fail, then the entire world fails. Future generation has to come back and then go back to the Nanima tales of Chanda Mama, and then our heritage, Indian heritage, and then learn, understand the Puranas, the ancient scriptures, and then there will be revival. The problem lies in us, not with the children. We have to understand and take care, and not to be biased by what we wear, by the number of houses, the cars, from vintage cars to others. But they should come back what they have acquired, what they have. Their learning is important, and this has to start in an educational institution, and there should be intellectual talk, intellectual development, and there should be a wave of development and change. Now let's come back to some of the Oriental studies. And we have our Vedas and then the Samhitas. These are not just literature, they may be sacred. Why not to read it as literature? And why do we take it as this, brand it as religion? Let's come back to only literature, and then come back to the genesis of of ancient Sanskrit literature. Many works have been done by foreign writings, and why should we concentrate on their writing? Why not to read our literature and do some translation work? Then, Said has demonstrated the values of Oriental culture and brought out the marginalized other in the center stage. Leela Gandhi makes an observation of this subject. He says, Orientalism is the first book in which Said relentlessly unmasks the ideological disguises of imperialism. In this regard, its peculiar contribution to the field of anti-colonial scholarship inheres in its painstaking, if somewhat overstated, exposition of reciprocal relationship between colonial knowledge and colonial power, unquote. Then I'll go to the Upanishads, the Vedantic studies, and the Upanishads represent the highest, the loftiest heights of ancient Indo-Aryan thought and culture. They form the wisdom portion of Jnana Kanda of the Vedas. Jnana, if you don't have, then what are you doing? It's not about the material things that we are happy with. One day our body will age. Then what are we learning? And the Upanishads gives you an answer to this. Your karma is important. And Bhagavad Gita says we should not be concentrating on the results, not to think of fruit of action, quote unquote. Even in the argumentative Indian, Neeraj Singh Chaudhary has nicely presented. Then Upanishads, from Upanishads I'll go to the Mundaka Upanishad and then to Shvetasara Upanishad. Here they're present to help a growing young mind to gain insights to how to be a better and good student. There is a compilation from students' perspective. Yes? Okay, thank you. Sanskrit is a language over 3 million old, once spoken over by Indian subcontinent and the intellectual meeting of some of the humanity's most profound reflections. And it is often dismissed today as a relic of the past, but Sanskrit is not just India's legacy, It is the language in which some of the world's most intricate metaphysical inquiries and artistic achievements were composed. Today, as India reasserts its intellectual heritage on a global stage, Sanskrit has an essential role to play, not just a symbol of identity, but as a living intellectual tradition. It is not a language, but it is a way of seeing, knowing, and being. As the world increasingly seeks to ancient wisdom for modern dilemmas, Sanskrit relevance is not just intact, it's rising. Now let's concentrate on our culture and develop our reading habits. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for speaking on the importance of ancient literatures and also our past, the glorious past that defines us as being very rich people coming from India with an ancient set of languages, cultural practices, and also our own regional literatures, which, as has been highlighted in the inaugural session, that in every 10 kilometer we come across a language, and every dialect is as important as we make the literatures to be highlighted in front of the audience. Moving on, I would like to call upon Shashwat Das, first year Master of Arts student, Department of English, Barampur University, Bhanja Bihar, Ganjam. He'd be speaking on the literary influences of Gita Govinda by Srila Jayadeva Goswami on the Odissi classical dance from Odisha. The stage is yours, Shashwat.
I extend a warm afternoon to one and all present over here, respected guests of honor, chairperson, moderator, principal, Kendrapara Autonomous College, head of the Department of English, Kendrapara Autonomous College, and the esteemed faculties present over here. I am indelibly grateful and honored to stand here and present my seminar paper titled The Literary Influences of Gita Govinda by Srila Jayadeva Goswami on the Odissi classical dance form of Odisha. The contemporary Odisha dance form of Odisha emerged roughly in the 12th century BC from its precursor Odhra Magadha. It laid the form, tradition and style from its literary roots of that time period, such as the Natya Shastra by Bharata Muni and Abhinaya Darpana by Nandikeswara. The objective of this paper is to demonstrate the significant impact of indigenous literatures in theatre and cinema, focusing on the Odissi classical dance form, which depicts Odisha's rich culture, spirit, and heritage on national and international platforms. I would like to introduce my paper by focusing on the precursors of Odissi and how it became a popular and traditional classical dance of Odisha. The contemporary Odissi dance has been derived from the historical Odra Nritya dance form originating from the ancient Sanskrit work of Natya Shastra by Bharata Muni. This work describes 4 important pravritis or methods of expressive delivery, namely Avanti, Dakshinatya, Panchali and Odra Magadha. The Odra Magadha tradition of expressive delivery is the earliest precursor of the contemporary Odisha dance form. It is a performative art which combines melody, storytelling, symbolic costumes, body movement, abhinaya or expressions, and mudras or gestures and sign language, culminating into a devotional dance form. The Odissi dance form involves the lower body, footwork, mid-body or torso, and upper body, hand and head as 3 sources of expressionism which captivate the audience. The Odissi repertoire includes invocation, nritya, pure dance, nritya, expressive dance, natya, dance drama, and moksha, dance climax showcasing the salvation of the soul and spiritual release. The Odissi traditional art form found its place in the form of a devotional tribute to the Almighty in the medieval era. It was dramatic sequence which involved women dancers, also known as Maharis, enacting a religious story, particularly of Radha and Krishna, exploring the themes of love, separation, and reunion in the forests of Vrindavan. Initially, these performances took place in and were limited to the Natamandira sanctums of Hindu temples. The Sri Jagannath temple in Puri was one of the most prominent and foundational temples for such dances, noteworthy for Mahari or Devarasi Odissi skilled dancers. In the 16th century, during the reign of the Bhoi king Ramachandra Deva, Gotipos or young boys dressed as females became a crucial part of the Odissi tradition, who incorporated acrobatic and flexible postures known as Bandha Nritya in the art form. The 20th century saw the transition of Odissi from a sacred temple dance into a public and theatrical stage art format, where it was brought out of the Jagannath temple in Puri and other shrines in Odisha to theatres and eventually to national and international stages across India and the world. The Gita Govinda, a Sanskrit lyrical poem, was composed by the poet Jayadeva in 12th century AD for the purpose of elevating the Odissi classical dance form, and formed its core thematic, musical, and expressive structure. The main purpose of the poem was to be sung and danced to by the Maharis or temple dancers in the sanctums of the Lord Jagannatha in Puri as a form of daily offering to him. There are several key literal influences of Gita Govinda in Odissi. I would like to go over them briefly. One of the most revolutionary literary influences of Gita Govinda is the sacralization of Sringara Rasa as a mode of devotional experience. The Sringara Rasa, characterized by love, beauty, and attractiveness, acts as a solvent in the Odissi Nitriya's goal for spiritual salvation through the Radha Krishna Leela. The second literary influence of Gita Govinda by the poet Jayadeva is by structurally organizing it into 24 Ashtapadis, meaning 8 couplets or verses, which are organized into 12 chapters containing 24 prabandhas or songs. This textual form exerted a lasting influence on the Odissi classical dance form by providing an ideal textual unit and framework for expressive elaboration. The third key literary influence of Jayadeva's poetry in the Gita Govinda was by the refined depiction of Abhinaya or form of expression in the Odissi classical art form. In the pre-Gita Govinda era, the Maharis or temple dancers performed Abhinaya based on mantras and shlokas, focusing on ritualistic and spiritualized expression. After the incorporation of Gita Govinda into Odissi, the dancers did not just illustrate the emotions in the text in the form of Abhinaya literally, but internalized the emotions to render it visible through subtle bodily and facial articulation. The fourth key literal influence of Jayadeva's Gita Govinda was his literary prowess pertaining to the depiction of Radha as the epicenter and primary experiential subject. She is portrayed as an emotionally complex individual who oscillates between desire, pride, anger, vulnerability, and surrender. This literary focus on the feminine narrative influenced the Odissi classical dance form by positioning the female body as the principal site of spiritual expression. The fifth key literal influence of Gita Govinda was its careful designation of ragas and talas for each ashtapadi, which reinforces the intricate relationship between literature, music, and performance. And the sixth key literal influence of Gita Govinda incorporated into the ritual practices of the Sri Jagannath temple in Puri by the 13th century, where it was sung and enacted in the form of Odissi Nritya as part of daily worship. I would like to conclude my paper by mentioning that Jayadeva's Gita Govinda continues to be celebrated as a sophisticated dance tradition of the human soul seeking moksha or salvation through surrender to the Almighty God and its ultimate union with the divine, sustaining its cultural, aesthetic, and spiritual significance. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to present my paper in this national seminar.
Thank you so much, Saswat, for highlighting the cultural heritage and also the long journey this Odisha's literatures have made, and especially highlighting the importance of Lord Jagannath, our religious and cultural intertwined history, and also the importance of how by highlighting our own heritage, by focusing on what aspects of literature and heritage we can talk about, and also as students of literature, this is our moral duty that we are to be informed and be very acutely aware about what possessions we have in terms of literature and culture. To move on with the technical session, I would now like to call upon Mandeep Sahu to present his paper. He's a student of our department. Mandeep, the stage is yours.
It's just a small piece of information to all of you. If you want to ask any question to the paper presenter or anyone else, please note your question. After this session, this presentation, you can ask your question. Note it. We'll give you a chance for the question hour session, but after the end of the session.
A very good afternoon to everyone. Respected Chairperson, Honorable Resource Person, esteemed guests and teachers and my friends. I am Mandeep Sahu, a third-year student from Kendrapara Autonomous College, and today I feel honored to present my paper on Speaking in Many Tongues, Feminism and the Politics of Translation in Indian Literature. India is frequently described as a land of many languages, cultures, tradition, and yet this linguistic plurality does not translate into the equal visibility or authority for all voices. Certain languages saved by the historical privileges, colonial legacies, and institutional power circulate more freely within academic publishing and global literary spaces, while others remain marginal or selectively represented. Women's writing in India, particularly that produced by Dalit, tribal and minority women, has long existed with this fragile space between the expression and erasure. In this context, the translation assumes a significance far beyond the linguistic transfer. It has become a political and feminist practice that determines how women voices are mediated, framed, and remembered across the linguistic and cultural boundaries. Much of the Indian women literature has emerged in the regional languages such as Bengali, Urdu, Tamil, Marathi, Malayalam, and several others. For the extended periods, these writings were confined to the local readership due to the linguistic barriers and the dominance of the English within the academic period or institution and publishing networks. Translation enabled these texts to travel beyond the regional limits and enter national and international circuits of reading, teaching, and criticism. However, as scholars in translation studies have repeatedly emphasized, translation is never a neutral or transparent act. It is shaped by the ideological assumption and cultural hierarchies and power relations. This understanding of the translation as a gender and ideological practice is further developed in Sherry Simon's work on gender and translation. Feminist and post-colonial translation theories view translation as a site where power is negotiated rather merely transmitted. Gayatri Chakraborty Spivak's intervention in her essay on the politics of translation foregrounds the ethical responsibility involved in the translating text by marginalized women. She warns against the translation that prioritize fluency and accessibility at the expense of linguistic difference, arguing that such practices often reproduce colonial and patriarchal structure of the domination. Now I am going to give a brief three case study to explain these theoretical concerns become tangible when examined through the specific literary works. The case study 1, the Mahashweta Devi and the translation of the subterranean resistance, Ismat Chugtai and the translation of the female desire, Bamas and the translation of the Dalit feminist testimony. Now, in conclusion, speaking in many tongues is not simply about knowing or usually multiple languages. It is about the woman's continuous struggle to claim a voice within the system shaped by power, silence, and survival. Feminist engagement with the translation in the Indian literature reminds us that translation is never a neutral act. When practiced with the ethical responsibility and cultural sensitivity, translation doesn't flatten differences but protects them. It allows women's voices to travel across the languages without losing their rootness, dignity, and strength. In this way, the translation becomes not just an act of linguistic transfer, but an human act of listening, one that ensures women's stories not only for translated, but truly heard, remembered, and carried forward to the generation. Through the writings of Mahasweta Devi, Ismat Chugtai, and Vama, this discussion has shown that the translation have become a powerful feminist intervention. It carries memories of pain, resistance, and makes marginalized lives visible. Now, at last, for me, art, literature, and poetry are the vocal cords of the society. Thank you very much. Thank you, all of you.
Thank you so much, Mandeep. As we are running short of time for the first technical session itself, now we would like to move on to our next presenter, Ankita Sahu, +3 third year, Kendrapara Autonomous College. She'll be presenting on From Soil to Story, Mahasati Urmila as a vocal for local folk narrative.
Good afternoon, everyone. Respected chairperson, guests, dignitaries, my teachers, and everyone present here. I am Ankita Sahu, a +3 student of this Kendrapara Autonomous College, and I am delighted to present my paper titled From Soil to Story, Mahasati Urmila as a vocal for local folk narrative. We all are familiar with classical Indian epic, the Ramayana and the Mahabharata. We all know how India's literary history has favored grand Sanskrit epic and male-centered tales of courage, sidelining women's story, rural perspective, and grassroots folklore. Lately, the marginalized writer have been reclaiming age-old legends, breathing fresh life into it through their everyday dialects and village tales. Padma Shri Lok Kavi Ratna, or people's poet, Haldar Nag, set a bold example through Mahasati Urmila, written in Koshle. This paper explores how Nag turns everyday regional life into vivid storytelling, putting Urmila, the Ramayana's overlooked figure, through folk rhythm and local wisdom. By doing so, he lifts up those forgotten voices, showing how hometown chants can stand tall beside big city classics. His words reveal folk ways as a tool for safeguarding heritage, holding on to roots, pushing boundaries, and rethinking right from wrong. All with plain talk that carries deep emotion, celebrating where we are from while touching hearts fire and white. Haldar Nag, popularly known as Lok Kavi Ratna, writes in Koshli language, a language deeply connected with oral tradition and folk culture of Western Odisha. His poetry is simple in expression, but it makes you pause and think deeply. He often draws from mythology, moral philosophy, and everyday human suffering, making his work accessible to common people while remaining rich in literary value. Haldar Nag ranks amongst India's top folk bards today, embodying the journey from soil to story. He draws straight from the soul of village songs, family stories passed down through generations, and live recitals, letting his poetry truly come alive and gathering rather than just books. Through his literary work such as Dhodo Borgaj, Amargar Mosanpada, Choitar Sakal, and Jharan, Nag played a crucial role in popularizing and preserving the Koshli language. This study adopts Haldar Nag's Mahasati Urmila as the primary case study for analysis. This text not only represents Nag's poetic vision but also serves as a powerful example of how regional and folk narrative can reshape mainstream epic tradition. ई सती बोली जाके नाई न गंती साती कांड रामायणे कबीर निगा के तो सीगा सती से तो सीता गीता सती पने. In Valmiki's Ramayana, Urmila, Lakshman's loyal wife, fades into the background. Her 14 years of aching loneliness at home is barely whispered about, while Sita steals the spotlight. She endures in quiet shadow, unseen, without glory or God's praise. Her devotion woven into the unnoticed rhythm of everyday life. Haldanak flips this, making her the heart of the poem. He paints her sacrifices, staying behind for 14 years as equal as Sita's trial, using simple folk rhythm to make her a symbol of purity and strength. He portrays her endurance as a relatable struggle for many rural women, steady support without fanfare. Unlike the heroic figure who actively participate in epic events, Urmila represents silent endurance, emotional restraint, and inner strength. Haldanag elevates her suffering and patience to the level of spiritual sacrifice, presenting her as a Mahasati. Mahasati, Urmila. You may wonder about the concept of Sati. Why Urmila is Mahasati and how? The concept of Sati is redefined beyond its conventional epic and patriarchal association. Unlike the classical representation where Sati is often linked to public sacrifice, physical suffering, or dramatic trials, Nag represents Urmila as a moral and emotional Sati, whose virtue lies in conscious endurance rather than spectacle. Her Satitva is rooted in self-restraint, emotional discipline, and ethical choice. When Lakshmana leaves for the forest with Rama, Urmila accepts separation not as a passive obedience but as a deliberate act of love. By naming her Mahasati, the poet challenges patriarchal epic hierarchy and restores value to silent, unacknowledged sacrifice. It examines Mahasati Urmila as a vocal for local folk narrative that transforms lived regional experience, the soil, into literary expression, the story. He not only restores a marginal voice but also asserts the cultural authority of regional literature and oral tradition with the broader framework of Indian literary study. Mahasati Urmila feels like sitting around a village fire with its story unfolding in chunked scenes, looping patterns, melody you can't help but hum, an emotion that hit right in the chest, memories that linger for the next gathering. Nag's genius lies in weaving soil, the guilt of the place, tongue and shared past into the story, a crafted tale that spreads culture. The local flavor carries real heart and truth, while themes like quiet resolve and steady grace touches soul. Village stories like this open doors to wider talk, showing how homegrown art speaks to us all. Echoing vocal for local, Nag's Mahasati Urmila champions homegrown expression and pressure to blend in. His steady word carves out room for everyday dialects, village stories and hidden lives long overlooked. In India's book world, where giants like Sanskrit or English overshadows other, Nag spotlights the power in variety. Mahasati Urmila proves folk oral art can breathe new life into old legends, spotlight quiet strength and boost regional pride. From Odisha's heartfelt soil, Nag crafts a story that reaches across India, turning epic biases and folk framing ethics by giving voice to regional tongue and forgotten souls. Like a seed taking root in western Odisha's red earth, Haldan Nag's Mahasati Urmila draws nourishment from village rhythm, family whisper, harvest songs, and the steady courage of the ordinary folk. What blooms is no fragile flower, but a sturdy epic that carries Urmila's quiet tear and fierce heart to listeners far beyond the field, turning raw local truth into a shared song of resilience that echoes across generations. Through this national journey from earth to echo, Nag teaches that true stories are not born in grand halls, but in the hand that till the soil and the heart that hold the home together. Thank you.
Now we have reached towards the last presenter of the first technical session. Now I would like to call Sai Dinabandhu Beuria from the an alumnus of alumnus of our department and Ravenshaw University. He would be presenting on between the drumbeat and the page, navigating the translation of Santali oral traditions in globalized world. Sai Dinabandhu Beuria, are you present? Yes.
Good afternoon. esteemed chair, distinguished delegates, and fellow scholars. The paper that I'm presenting is titled Between the Drumbeat and the Page, Navigating the Translation of Santali Oral Traditions in a Globalized World. Again. The story of the Santals is one of the oldest journeys in the human history, belonging to the Austroasiatic language family, specifically the Kherwarian Munda group. The Santals represent a linguistic lineage that is distinct from the dominant Indo-European history of the subcontinent. The roots trace back to ancient migrations from Indochina around 1500 BC, carrying a worldview that is deeply ecological and communal. For centuries, this community has carried its history not in books but in breath. Their identity has survived through oral traditions like the Binti, epic creation myths, and Baha songs, which are handed down through call and response storytelling, dance, and the rhythm of the tamak drum. These stories survived the long migration across the continent to settle in regions like Eastern India, Nepal, and Bangladesh. However, we face a paradox today. This oral heritage, which withstood colonial pressures and displacement, now faces a quieter, more efficient threat: modernity and globalization. As we move towards a digital-first world, the performance of these stories, the gestures, the drumbeat, the communal participation, risks being flattened into static text. This brings me to the challenges that the ancient voices of this marginalized group faces today, and how my paper aims to address them. I argue that we must stop translating the literature as just words. Instead, we need a decolonial translation praxis, one that uses digital tools, AI, and community agency to translate the performance itself, not just the text. Vocal for local isn't just about speaking our languages. It's about using 21st century tools to ensure they're heard globally without losing the soul. The challenge: to understand why such a method is urgent, we have to look at what we lose when we simply write these stories down. First of all, we have the linguistic divide, the problem of the untranslatable. Firstly, the language itself is structurally incompatible with Indo-European languages. Santali is an agglutinative language with a subject-object-verb structure which is fundamentally different from the SVO, subject-verb-object structure of English. There are many untranslatable metaphors like dal, the forest bond. Well, it technically does not mean forest bond, it means something else, but you cannot translate it into English. That's the point. And epistemic violence. Early colonial translations like Boardings often imposed Christian frameworks, such as translating Marang-Buru, the great mountain, as God, effectively colonizing their spiritual worldview. Coming to the drumbeat problem, which is the loss of performance. When we write down a story, we lose the drum rhythms, the signals, the gestural elements that also impart meaning to the epics. For example, the Jomsing Binti epic relies on specific hand gestures to symbolize ancestral journeys. In a standard text translation, these gestures are reduced to footnotes or lost entirely. Colonial ethnographers, while well-intentioned, turned these vibrant living traditions into frozen texts that stripped away the audience participation and call and response elements. So how do we translate a drumbeat? My paper proposes 3 strategies for the modern era. First, technology as a preserver, AI and augmented reality. AI-assisted transcription, like the Bhasani project, uses speech-to-text algorithms trained on Santali dialects. It creates a space where elder stories are transcribed with high accuracy, preserving the oral voice. Augmented reality could be used to reattach the body to the text. Imagine pointing your phone camera to a text and seeing a hologram of the storyteller's gestures, or having the drum rhythm beat through your speaker. This is already being explored with 360-degree videos of Jomsim Binti performances. Okay. To conclude, the translation of subaltern voices in a globalized world cannot be an act of extraction. We cannot simply take their stories, strip them of their drums and dances and put them in a library. We must move toward cultural transduction, where we use every tool available, from the old Chiki script to artificial intelligence, to carry the soul of the performance into the future. As I state, our goal should be to ensure these stories remain a living heritage, not museum artifacts. By combining indigenous agency with digital innovation, we can ensure that the drumbeat continues to resonate even on the digital page. Thank you.
Thank you, Sai. Now that we are over with the first technical session, I request the audience to please ask their questions. Now we are open for discussions, and all the presenters, if you would please answer to the audience's questions. Yes, does anyone have any question to ask regarding the paper presentations? Yes, anyone? Okay, now that we are done with the technical session, I would like to call upon Dr. Saroj Mahananda Sir, Professor, Department of English, Jamia Millia Islamia, New Delhi, as one of the chairpersons for the session. I would request him to please come to the dais and address the paper presentations and wrap the session. Sir, please.
Thank you, Sucheta. I can see that all of you are restive, want to leave or you want to enjoy the cultural program. So I won't take much time. Keeping the title of the theme of the seminar in mind, in fact, there has been a wonderful kind of volley of presenters, and people have presented, and I will just quickly go through what they have done. In fact, our topic is vocal for local. We have already spoken about it. The second part of the topic is reimagining literature and translation in 21st century. So we have had all theoretical interventions through our keynote speaker in the morning, and then chief guest, and plenary speaker, my co-chair. So they have all done theoretical interventions in different sorts. Our presenters complemented that thing, and they took us to the actual practice of translation or actual literature. So in fact, all the translation, in fact, I think it was supposed to be carried over to 3 sessions, but due to shortage of time or something, they have been clubbed and probably people didn't turn up, so that's why it's there. So, but then very quickly I'll just go through them and how wonderful they have been. The first presenter, Afreen Firdaus Firoz, talked about the translation as medium of cultural preservation. She spoke about the cultural linguistic diversities of the country, and whereby translation turns out to be a tool, instrumentality, as our keynote speaker in the morning was saying. So instrumentality of encouraging, inspiring unity, and that unity in diversity is actually, it's not a liability for us. Because of the translation, that turns out to be a strength for us. So that's how Apreen was going. And and while in the process of translation, what is the translator supposed to do? The translator is supposed to be sensitive or sensible enough to each other, the source language or the target language, cultural ethos. So that's what she was talking about. That's a wonderful thing. Then we had the second presentation, Mausumi Mahakul, then she was talking about Sanskrit literature and our heritage, how they have to be translated, and they have been translated. She took us to all those debates surrounding the Macaulay minutes, the infamous Macaulay minutes, whereby Indian knowledge tradition had been reduced to less than something that the one single shelf of British European library. So that she was referring to that. In that context, how translation turns out to be an important intervention. In fact, probably she intended to do that, but the James Mill and Charles Trevelyan's comments related to India's heritage, in Sanskritic heritage, or whatever that we may say, India's cultural, rich cultural heritage, and that's how translation turns out to be an important factor in order to go back not just to the past but also to the future. Then we had Shashwat Das, Literary Influences of Gita and Gita Govinda by Srila Shashwat Das, Literary Influences of Gita and Gita Govinda by Srila Jayadev Goswami. And basically he was talking about how literature and theatre, performance arts are related, and because as we talk about reimagining literature and translation, so there he was talking about the literature, how literature actually influences not just thoughts but also the cultural practices like performance, like Odisha Nritya, Odisha dance. So he was talking about that, all storytelling, dance forms, they are all related to each other and how they can be brought back and they need to be studied in the present time. So that's what Shashwat said. And then Mandeep Sahu talked about speaking in many tongues. So basically he was going towards the feminist discourse, and whereby he referred to Maheshwata Devi, Spivak, Ismat Chugtai, Bamas, Dalit and all those texts. And in that process he was also trying to say that translation is empowering. So feminist texts have been translated, whatever the power structure that we have, the translator speaks to the power. So that's what he was. Translation is a political act. So that was his contribution. And then we had Ankita Sahu from Soil to Story, speaking about Mahasati Urmila by Haldar Nag, someone from Bargarh, and I belong to Bargarh, by the way. So that's what. Haldar Nag has been a Padma Shri awardee, and he brought in his oral tradition. He is an impromptu bard. He would say and people would write. So that's how he brought in. He studied different sources of Ramayana, for example, Tulsi Ramayana, Jain Ramayana. He heard them, not studied rather. He is illiterate in that traditional sense of the term. But despite that, he came out with all those renderings, and he improvised, and his version of Ramayana turns out to be something which is classical in that sense. That's how in some other context, in fact, I had said that it is a focalization of Ramayana in the Sambalpuri context. So Ankita was rightly going to that. So then next presenter we had Sai Dinabandhu Beoria, who talked about between the drum beat, how the oral tradition is to be translated, and when it has been translated in the earlier tradition, early colonial writers, anthropologists, when they were translating, they are actually superimposing English syntactic structures. So this has its own typical syntactic structure. This cannot be translated. When that is translated and superimposition is done, that leads to some kind of violence. So that's translated and superimposition is done, that leads to some kind of violence. So that's what he was referring to. So the challenges he was kind of bringing out. And then I think that was the last one. And that's, through that he said how the subaltern voices and wherever they are, and how the translation has to be very sensitively, the act of translation has to be very sensitively done in order to actually not to do undue violence, and the subaltern works, subaltern powers, subaltern voices have to be mediated through translation. So that's the need of the hour. That's what he was saying. So all along, and it was actually a very enriching session. I would have wished that we had more participants, or maybe the students would have paid little more interest so that they could have gained a lot, because the seminar is very promising. And as it started with my teacher keynote speaker, Professor Satyanand Mahanti sir, said, ultimately, we can't help it. We start, in fact, our life starts with it, translation. So our mother tongue gets into our written things, and then, so we have to go back to translation. So with these small kind of comments, I rest my case here. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for highlighting the cultural heritage and the importance of it. And personally, coming to this end of this session, I have started to believe that yes, there are nomenclatures of language and dialect, but now after hearing to such eminent persons, I think the very terminology of dialect and language has been a problematic concept for me, because why are we seeing the number of speakers of any language and then we are also naming them as the category of language or dialect, but why are we also ignoring the history, the heritage, and also the hierarchy they have had? For example, a language which is now a dialect, pardon my reference of the words dialect and language, we are naming them. For example, who gets to have the authority to give a categorization of dialect and language? I would not answer the question, just food for thought. And now I would like to call upon Professor Sachidananda Mahanti sir to please address the technical session. Sir, please.
So, respected chair of this session, Professor Saroj Mahanand, who I understand is engaged in a very important kind of an enterprise, translation enterprise at the national level, namely identification of some texts of classical importance and to get them translated into Hindi and English. So that's a major kind of an enterprise that he is carrying out. So I think we should all join together and give him a big hand. All of you? केते जण बसिक सेठी गप करूचंती मु सकाळे जा कहिथिली आपण टिके सुनंतु आग्रह रे. I think I have earned my right to come and to be invited to offer a few words, because unlike other VIPs, celebrities, I don't give my remark and go away. आपन को सकाळे मु एड्रेस कली मु फुल टाइम एटी शुणुली है मु घरे जाए अन्य जगह जाकि करिपारथांती मु एटी शुणिली आग्रह शुणिबार गोटे बड़ लक्षण है गोटे शिक्षकर बड़ लक्षण है अन्य मान को शुणा खाली मन नुह. मो बापा थरे मते कहिले, माय फादर हैड सेड दैट सन यू हैव 2 ears and 1 mouth. Why is it so? मु कहली बापा कहीं ना भगवान तते दीटी कान देइछन्ति गोटे मुह देइछन्ति एइतिपाई तू कम कथा कहबू बेसी सुनिबू. How insightful he was. He didn't have the benefit of higher education like my mother, but he was full of insights and wisdom. So I have always taken it as kind of a Veda mantra that I must listen to others. And I must not have this narcissism of self-love that all of us have. First thing in the morning, we look at our own self on the smartphone. How handsome I am, how beautiful I am, how many people are going to really signal and endorse what I am saying. So I have remained here listening to all of us. So a few things that I want to say. Thank you for giving me this opportunity at the end of the day. We know that there are other interesting, cultural events which are waiting for us. But by cultural events, we don't have what is understood today, at the end of the day, dance form. Because what we are trying to do is actually the gamut of culture with C capital. Claude Lévi-Strauss and Jacques Derrida and Edward Said, all of them are talking about cultural discourse. So instead of narrative, we call it discourse today. and it's culture with C capital. So culture is not something alien to us. The arrangement of the hall itself, and down below, it is also part of semiotics, the scientific study of science. So that is also culture of a certain kind. So today we have to have a broader understanding of culture. And you people, you children are not away, because within the digital medium, and we had a smartphone, as I am speaking, I can see myself. And my identity is being formed in the process of being recorded here itself. So you are not far away. The point is, what advantage are you going to take? And how are you going to utilize this opportunity? You are no less. Because sitting here, you can access a lecture in Harvard University, in Hyderabad University also. We were not so fortunate. We used to make do with photocopiers. But that was also a kind of a challenge, because, you had to write down notes. And unless, this writing notes is also very painstaking and fatiguing activity. So the mind has to register. And only that portion which is crystallized has to be really transmitted through the hand itself. Because if you write too much, you don't know which is important, which is less important. So smartphone and technology in the classroom is not necessarily a boon. It can be a bane also. Because you don't know what to write, what not to write. But I want to make this exhortation to all of you, that try to be connected with the digital world itself and to know what is really worth talking about. Our student friend finally, threw up this question, what is a dialect, what is a standard language? And she forgot to mention another word called idiolect. We learned some of these things because my MA classes were held in the Central Institute of English and Foreign Languages. Today it is called English and Foreign Languages University. And I said dialect is a language, standard language. A standard language is a language which is a dialect which is backed by a navy and an army. She's asked this question, who decides? Good question. Whose language is it anyway? As we say, for example, in our own common post-colonial parlance. Whose language is it anyway? Who has decided it's Paschima Odisha language? A Paschima Odisha bhasa, amo bhasa no. Due to commercial compulsions, of course, OTV, etc., they are featuring Paschima Odisha bhasa. But it's not a matter of pity and sympathy that somebody has to do. It's a language in its own right, Koshali language. And in our own arrogant, supercilious manner, we say Paschima Odisha, Uttara Odisha. Uttara Odisha, Paschima Odisha. Ame joti kohuchu, Kotak Kendrapara. Seta kon Prakriti Odisha. Tama mana bhitere jo dharana gudaka sushti heichi, those are all artificial notions. They are completely against the democratic order. So each of the languages are very important to us. And that is why secessionism taking place, because people have a sense of alienation. We don't have trains there. And I saw while going recently from Bhubaneswar to Kalahandi, I went to Bhavanipatna, I went through Nayagad, Bodh, and I saw that the railway line to Balangir was inching forward. What a shame that so many years have gone by, we don't have the train to the interior of our own state itself. We're talking 47 we are talking about. So I think this whole exercise about translation, it is also a kind of a nation building activity. It is a way of really reinventing. It is also a kind of a nation building activity. It is a way of really reinventing our own province. Our province was created due to M.S. Das and others in 1936. But we haven't really understood the import of the creation of this province itself. So Purbhasha and company, when they really conceptualized this, perhaps they had not anticipated the significance and the profundity of this exercise itself. It is a way of discovering our own identity. What is Paschima Odisha? What is Uttara Odisha? Through the medium of translation, it can be instrumental in understanding our own identity. That is what I would say. An idiolect is a language which is spoken by each one of us. Dialect is a language which is spoken by a group of people, community. And standard language is a language which is backed by the state, the army and the navy. But these are all artificial construct. What is important is a speech. The moment somebody is born, the first word is uttered to the mother. Therefore we called it mother's word. Motherhood is a biological fact. Fatherhood is not a biological fact. Fatherhood is a matter of hearsay. 10 लोक कहले तेन मु तार बापा हेली. But motherhood is a biological fact. Because it's an instinctive act. A mother dog, a mother cat is a biological fact. Because children are going, offsprings are going to the mother. Fatherhood is actually a vagrant. The father is a nomad. The father has no loyalty to the children in the instinctive biological sense. The mother has loyalty to the children. And that is why, rightly so, motherhood is really held sacrosanct. Those nations grow who worship the mother tongue and mother. We know it as a fact. And those nations which have eschewed motherhood and talk about fatherhood, they have resulted in fascism and Nazism. They've had disastrous ends like Germany, etc., and Italy. Germany in particular. They were talking not about motherhood, motherland, but they were talking about fatherland. Germany's place under the sun. You see, these are all deep-seated, cultural significance and patterns I am talking about on account of my history, reading of history and culture, etc. Motherhood and fatherhood. जो देश गुड़ाक fatherhood को बेसी worship करती, those countries have really come to harm. Grief. Germany is the best example. They talk about fatherhood. Fatherland. They don't talk about motherland. So it is not accidental nomenclature. Fatherhood is not so precious. As I said, motherhood is a biological factor. Fatherhood is a matter of legend and hearsay. 10 लोग कहले तुम बापा हलो. But motherhood is actually a biological fact. You can prove motherhood because for 9 months you are holding a child. And that is why, rightly so, the motherland and mother language, mother tongue is very important. In contrast to mother tongue, there is another tongue called other tongue. And Prabal Das Gupta had called it auntie's tongue. So English is another tongue, auntie's tongue. English is not our mother tongue. There are some states of our country, the 7 states of our country in Northeast, due to artificial reasons, they have lost their own kind of an origin and their own identity. The Nagas, the Khasis, the Mizos, and Meghalaya people, they have lost their own land due to missionary activity. Decimation of their own culture and languages. As I said in the morning, if you lose your language, you lose your culture. So Mizos, Khasis and Meghalaya people have lost their languages. Missionaries have come and implanted English language there. But English not their first language. But due to this travesty of history, English has become their first language itself. So Raja Rao had famously said, and there were a reference to Raja Rao, that English, as Saroj was saying, English is not the language of my emotional makeup. English is the language of my intellectual makeup. आम ओडिशा रे गोटे 2 भागर पिला देखा जाती. जड़े कहते आम इंग्लिश मीडियम रे पढ़ुचु, आउ जड़े कहते आम ओडिया मीडियम रे पढ़ुचु. आम देखा जाउछि जो माने इंग्लिश मीडियम पढ़ी से मैंने आसिक ये प्राधान्य देखा क्लासरूम रे. अरे मु इंग्लिश मीडियम रे पढ़ी, मु कन्वेंट रे पढ़ी, तमें कौटी पढ़ीच? अरे जो मैंने इंग्लिश मीडियम रे पढ़ी मन कर से रेवेन्सा कॉलेज रू तलू आसुले झुंटी पढ़ले. कौन बाहर प्रथम झुंटी पढ़ले पिला माने इलो बोलो इलो मालो. तापर से करेक्ट करछि कहूछि नो नो आई मीन आउच. इलो बोलो आई मीन आउच. आई मीन आउचटा हूँ इंग्लिश एक्सप्रेशन कौटू आइला. किंतु जो पढ़ी गले किले कहूना किलो बापा लो, कारण बापा हूँ गोटे डिस्टेंट कैरेक्टर. समस्त क्षेत्र में बापा मैंने होती डिस्टेंट कैरेक्टर. आज्ञा घरे माँ मैंने था माँ टी पैसा देलु, माँ टी जलु, मुझे किसी किणिकी आनी कोड़ी किणिकी आनी कई बापा को पचारती. बापा मैंने होती फियरसम कैरेक्टर. बापा को काले माँ कहीदेव. बापा मैंने होती फियरफुल कैरेक्टर, कैरेक्टर्स ऑफ टेरर इन आवर ओन चाइल्डहुड ऑल्सो. आम बापा को डरू कि माँ को डरुनु. तेणु मदर टंगटा केते प्रेशियस देख पिला माने. बापा को आम डरू. बापा गोटे डिस्टेंट कैरेक्टर. बापा संजोल को फेरती ऑफिस काम करके, माँ आम सांगे था. आम घर को आसला बेलू माँ आम कि पखाड़ कर दी था, कि भजा कर दी था. माँ मैंने केते प्रिय आमर ना. समस्त कह एक स्वर कह माँ मैंने केते प्रिय. हाँ कि नहीं? हाँ देख मो माँ को केते वर्शिप करे. मो बापा को मु बहुत भल पाए, सम्मान दिए. पंचानन महांती बहुत भल मत बहुत उपदेश देते कि मो माँ होती विद्युत प्रभा देवी आज जदि विद्युत प्रभा देवी न था मत किए शिखेला किए भल स्कूल को पठेला किए मोर उन्नति चिंता कला मो बापा अपेक्षा मो माँ बहुत चिंता करते समस्त को माँ मैंने चिंता कर जो दीज ये नर्तकी आसी से बापा सागर आसी ना रुद्राणी बापा सागर आसीनी बापा अन्य कम कर रुद्राणी माँ सागर आउ जो झीटे माँ सागर आसी माँ मानकर केते प्रिय आम मानकर मु बापा को डिसरेस्पेक्ट करूनी असम्मान करनी बापा रोल कर मदर टंग ट्रांसलेशन पक्षरे गोटे L1 हूँ सोर्स लैंग्वेजटा इंपोर्टेंट आपण मैंने सोर्स लैंग्वेज जदि भल कि बुझी ना केवल टार्गेट लैंग्वेज करें मुझे केते कथा कहीगले मदर टंग फादर इज अ डिस्टेंस फिगर मदर इज एंडियरिंग टू अस एंड इंग्लिश हूँ अदर टंग और आंटीज टंग है तेणु डायलेक्ट इडियलेक्ट और स्टैंडर्ड लैंग्वेज बुझागला जे सुजाता आमको कहूला बुझिपार पिला मैंने कौन है डायलेक्ट इडियोलेक्ट और स्टैंडर्ड लैंग्वेज आ मदर टंग अदर टंग मदर टंग हूँ आंटीज टंग तेणु आम प्रथम झुंटी पड़े इलो बो लो इलो माँ लो इलो डरीगली लो लो माँ कह रेवती लो निया लो चीनी फकीर मोहन कहले रेवती स्टैंड्स फॉर फीमेल एजुकेशन तेणु ट्रांसलेशन माध्यम आमर फीमेल एजुकेशन आम शिखुचु कारण आम नेटिव टंग को शिखुचु आ गोटे शेष परामर्श करी आमर कन्या प्रतिमा पूर्वाशा मोर छात्री थिले पूर्वाशा आ समस्त को यू प्रभामयी समस्त को कहि आपण मैंने गोटे ये जो आमर सरोज भाई बाबू अच्छा समस्त माध्यम कहि गोटे वर्कशॉप वर्कशॉप गोटे करंतु शनिवार रविवार करंतु पिला माने आसीबे एठी किछि जो भात और डालमा खाइबे किछि हमर दरकार नहीं पैसा को फंडिंग दरकार नहीं आपण ट्रांसलेशन गोटे वर्कशॉप करंतु आमर जो भल लेखा सब अच्छी 4-5टा कि 10टा आपण करंतु पिला माने बसिकी ट्रांसलेशन करिवे ताको वेराइटीज आ मु कहि रखिली देयर इज नथिंग लाइक दी करेक्ट ट्रांसलेशन because there is nothing like the authentic translation मो माँ मो बापा माँ 4 जन किए ऑथेंटिक विद्युत प्रभा ऑथेंटिक विद्युत प्रभा के पारे सी गोटे अलग संस्कार आसते मो माँ भरेली मो भाई गोटे अलग आमर निजर बायोलोजिकल आमर स्पिरिचुअल संस्कार अच्छे कारण ये जो पूर्वाशार पुओटी है केते आत्मा बोलिकी आसुँच सब अच्छा एस्ट्रल वर्ल्ड रे अच्छा ता भर गोटे पूर्वाशा गोटे एस्पायर कला मोर गोटे छुआ हाँ कि से ही आसिकी तुम पटकुआ कला आमर जो महाभारत रामायण आम जो ट्रेडिशन अच्छे सेमतिया देयर इज नथिंग लाइक दी ऑथेंटिक ट्रांसलेशन आपण मल्टीपल ट्रांसलेशन करंतु करके गोटे बही आकार बाहर करंतु छोट बही आकार से जेरक्स हो पारे जहाँ भी हो पारे यहाँ हूँ मोर परामर्श मु मोट पर मु आसिली सकाळु आसिली शुणिली मो कथाटा शुणिली नार्सिसिस्टिक है कि मु पलैलिनी मु रही मु समस्त शुणिली ये आ पिला माने जो मैंने करुच ब्रह्मपुर जो मैंने आसिल हाथ टेक अन्य जगार सब आसिल तमें लक्ष्यटा देख इट इज नॉट अबाउट अ कंपैरेटिव स्टडी इट इज अबाउट ट्रांसलेशन आपण से ट्रांसलेशन एक्सरसाइजटा आपण करंतु जो गोटे कले मु असुकी नुह आपण किए जने आसिक ओडिसी नृत्य उपर कहला दि टास्क इज नॉट अबाउट ओडिसी डांस और जयदेव गीत गोविंदा द टास्क इज अबाउट ट्रांसलेशन फ्रॉम वन लैंग्वेज to another language. We are not using translation in a broad, large, metaphorical sense. That way everything is a translation act. My speaking is also a translation act. So translation is as inevitable as breathing. Quoting T.S. Eliot, who said, criticism is as inevitable as breathing. And we might in a large metaphorical sense say, translation is as inevitable. But we are not using translation in a metaphorical sense. We're using translation in a specific, in a conceptual and a literary sense. So my friends, next time we talk about translation, understand translation in a very unique and specific sense. I'm very happy to have come, and I think at my age, although I don't appear to be so ancient, but I'm always youthful, because as long as my mind is active and I'm open to really reading influences and exposure, I will remain young. Because you can be an old person at the age of 25 and you can be a young person at the age of 65 plus. I imagine I am a young person because I'm still learning and I'm constantly educating myself and I'm reading, writing, and as long as I do that, I will remain young. Because, youth is not a matter of red cheeks and ripe lips. Youth is an attitude of mind, a quality of the soul. I'm very happy to have come to this college, and I'm speaking with as much passion here as I would have spoken in Hyderabad or India International. Thank you. Thank you, and God bless.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing such wonderful insights with us. I hope our students are more enlightened about what aspects of translation are very important and why we are here for this national seminar. Now, I would like to request all of our guests who are on the dais to kindly be present to give the certificates away. Firstly, I would like to call Dr. Prabhamai Samantraya ma'am, and also the chairpersons for the session, Dr. Saroj Mahanand sir, Professor, Department of English, Jamia Millia Islamia, New Delhi, and Major Manoranjan Mohanty sir, former principal, Rajnagar College. Sir, I request all of you to kindly step down of the dais so that it will be easy for the photographers to take a snapshot. Now I would firstly call Afrin Firdaus Firoz, the first presenter, to kindly come forward to collect the certificate. She is a PG first year student from Department of English, Parampur University. She presented her paper on translation as a medium of cultural preservation. She is an alumnus of our Department of English, Kendrapara Autonomous College. I request the audience to please join your hands for Afrin. Secondly, I would like to call forward Dr. Mausumi Mahakul ma'am, lecturer in English, NSM City College, Raja Bagicha, Cuttack. She presented her paper on Sanskrit literature, our heritage. I request the audience to please join your hands and give a big round of applause. Moving on, I would like to call upon Mandeep Sahu from our very own department. Next, I would like to call Ankita Sahu, +3 first year. Okay, she is not present with us right now. Mandeep, kindly could you come forward and collect her certificate? Next, I would like to call upon Sai Dinabandhu Beuria for presenting the paper between the drum beat and the page. Sai, are you present? Could you come forward to collect your certificate? Yes. A big round of applause for Sai. Now I would like to call Professor Sachidananda Mohanty sir to kindly come forward and present the certificates to our chairperson, and firstly to Dr. Prabhamai Samantraya ma'am for giving the plenary talk. A big round of applause to Prabhamai ma'am for accompanying us throughout the process and giving us the insights. Next, I would like for all of you to join hands for Major Manoranjan Mohanty sir. He gave us such wonderful insights on what importance does regional literature carry for us. A big round of applause for that also. Now I would like sir to present Saroj Mahanand sir for giving such wonderful insights on regional literatures and the languages which have been most instrumental in our progress. Yes. Yes, sir. A big round of applause for all of our chairpersons. Now I would like to call Lijashri ma'am to kindly come forward to give the vote of thanks for the session. Ma'am, please.
Thank you, ma'am. I, Lijashri Priyadarshini Sethi, lecture in English on behalf of the Department of English, Kendrapara Autonomous College. I would like to express my heartfelt thanks to Professor Sachidananda Mohanty sir. Thank you so much, sir. I'd also like to thank Dr. Prabhamai Samantraya ma'am for addressing the plenary talk. Thank you so much, ma'am. I also extend my gratitude to Major Manoranjan Mohanty sir and Professor Saroj Mahananda sir for chairing the technical session. Thank you so much, sir. I would like to extend my thanks to all paper presenters as well. Afrin Firdaus Feroz, Dr. Mousumi Mahakul, Sasod Das, Mandip Shahu, Ankita Sahu, Sai Dinamaddu Beherwa. Thank you, participants. I would like to thank all the dignitaries on the dais and off the dais and everyone who has worked as media person. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
We would like to take a 5 minutes break before starting off the cultural session. If anyone wants to take a break and get freshened up, it's your time. And after 5 minutes, we will be reassembling for the starting of the cultural programs. And I request all of you to kindly stay back. Our students have put in a lot of efforts for this cultural session. Thank you. As we are running out of time and there are a lot of students who have to rush home as well, we would like to start off with the cultural program. Firstly, I would like to call upon our students to present the welcome song, and it will be the welcome song will be presented by Ratika, Mahamaya, Dibya, Saloni and Adyasha. And I would request all the participants to be present below the dais so that it will be convenient for us to arrange a setup for you. The team for the welcome song, I request you to kindly line up for the performance. I request the audience to please bear with us by the time we get the technical setup for the performances.
Disconnected. Paired.
Thank you, girls. Thank you, girls, for such a lofty song. So the next performance is
Disconnected.
Semi-class by Jena.
Paired.
श्री जगन्नाथ लखे सालो ग्राम बिंचा बेदी को छाड़ी रथारूढ़ हेउची मो कला श्री हरि लखे सालो ग्राम बिंचा बेदी को छाड़ी रथारूढ़ हेउची मो कला श्री हरि मेंटी जीव ए आखिरु अनेक शोष सरधा बाली रे देखी श्रीनंदी घोष जय जगन्नाथ कही दुई हाथ टेकी दे मन प्राण मिशि जाऊ महाजात्रा रे मो जगा कालिया रे मो जगा कालिया रे मो जगा कालिया रे कालिया रे मो जगा कालिया रे मो जगा कालिया रे मो जगा कालिया रे
गिरिनन्दिनि नन्दितमेदिनि विश्वविनोदिनि नन्दनुते गिरिवरविन्द्यशिरोधिनि वासिनि विष्णुविलासिनि जिष्णुनुते भगवति हेशिति कण्ठकुटुम्बिनि भूरि कुटुम्बिनि भूरि कृते जय जय हे महिषासुरमर्दिनि रम्यकपर्दिनि शैलसुते
जलप्रवाह पावितस्थले घनेवलम्ब्य लम्बिताम्बुजङ्गतुङ्गमालिकां डमड्डमड्डमड्डमन्निनादमड्डमर्वयं चकार चण्डताण्डवं तनोतु न शिव शिवम्
disconnected.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, we had this beautiful performance, and next awaiting a poetry recitation, the creative art that you could find on the students of these premier institutions, and they were going to read poems on towards the castless morning, and the poetry reading would be done by Padmaja and Pragya. Padmaja and Pragya, are you ready with the poems? Oh, here we go, two beautiful ladies presenting beautiful poems on towards the castless morning. Let's see how they create this session and create awareness in our mind about castless society. Here we go.
A very warm evening to everyone present over here, esteemed scholars, respected head of the department, ma'am, distinguished faculty members, dear academic learners. I am Pragya.
And I am Padmaja.
Together we are reciting our poem titled as Towards a Castless Morning.
This poem gives voice to the lived experiences of the marginalized, the oppressed, and especially the Dalits, whose lives, labor, and humanity has long been oppressed by the society.
Hope our voice will reach the humanity. Towards a castless morning. From where the history loads its eyes and walked away.
From the dust beneath the temple steps.
A story rises, unwashed, unashamed.
From where our name is called like a mistake that the walls refuse to echo.
From the very soil their feet feel impure to touch.
Rises the identity where mind starves and caste begins to rethink.
We wake up before the sun when rooster call still awaited, and washed our skin in the margin where humanity seems denied.
We scrub, and scrub again, bent yet never broken. That's how we carry generations in our spine.
Hunger grew up with us. Poverty sets its pillow for the night.
We think of our mother's back, absurdly curved like a question mark.
We think of our father's silence, his lowering gaze and whipped back.
Silence runs in our plasma.
Runs like a second heart.
Untouchability sits on my skin like a leech.
Empty stomach, empty bench, and empty future.
We learn hunger before language and resistance before hope.
Before you ask us who we are, ask why your world needed us invisible.
Let's celebrate the questions then and outlook our constitution. You say education makes us equal, then why do our surnames outshine our answers?
Here, Phule and Savitribai opened school doors where history had bolted shut. Hold the chalk to teach the knowledge, lessening society the very right.
As you said, love is blind, then why does it ask for the caste?
Let self-respect write on the walls. Hear what Perrier whisper. Marry without God and your self-made caste.
Why our hands are fit to sweep the streets, but not to write the books?
Oh, you come and read the text. These hands can hold pens. Turn shame into history. Valmiki's Jutan is the proof which can turn silence into speech.
If equality is a promise, then why does dignity arrive so late?
That's why Ambedkar stitched justice into law, so humanity no longer need to beg in front of the fate.
Our dreams, they carries no caste.
Not general, not socially backward, not even the other.
We inhale the same air, and to live as a human is my desire.
Can we untie this achut knot forever? Standing under the flying Triranga in a casteless morning, humanity aim to salute the Azad Bharat together. Jati nahi, insaniyat zinda rahe. Thank you all.
Ladies and gentlemen, if the young minds of our nation, of our state, of this premier institution think like a casteless society, then nothing could be better than that. We are on the right form, we are on the right platform, we have taken the right topic. We are talking about subaltern, and they have also recited the poem befitting the topic. Thank you very much for the beautiful girls presenting the beautiful presentation of the songs. Now we have the next performance, and I would like to invite the beautiful lady you could see on the costume, and she is going to present a semi-classical song on Siva Tandava. And here we go. The form is yours. Just mesmerize us with your charm, with your grace, and your postures. Here we go.
प्रचंड तांडव शिव नमामि पार्वती पति नमः तक थे थे ता धे किट तक ता धे किट तक ता धे किट तक थे थे ताजम ता किट तक धाग दिगन थे थे ताजम ता किट तक धाग दिगन थे थे ता ता धी नाम ता ता धिन थे ता धी नाम ता ता धिन थे ता धी नाम ता धिन थे ता धी नाम ता धिन थे ताजम ता किट तक धाग दिगन थे थे ताजम ता किट तक धाग दिगन थे थे धाकिट धो रलांग थे धाकिट धो रलांग थे तक ताधे रे थे तक ताधे रे थे तक ताधे रे थे के जैकेट छेना तक ताजम ता छेना तक तेरे तेरे किट तक छेना तक ताजम ता छेना तक तक ताधे धाग दिगन थे तक ताधे धाग दिगन थे तक ताधे धाग दिगन थे किट तक गदिगन थे किट तक गदिगन थे किट तक गदिगन थे ता किट तक गदिगन थे किट तक गदिगन थे किट तक गदिगन थे ता किट तक गदिगन थे किट तक गदिगन थे किट तक गदिगन धान धान धा 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 किट तक गदिगन थे
Thank you. Sir, I would like to request Sachidanand Mahan sir, could you please be here and encourage us? We would be demoralized if you go away. Please be here for half an hour only. I would request you for just staying for half an hour, please.
I'd like to beg apology for my absence now. And so I have been here right from the beginning, from the early morning itself I have been here. And actually I do have an assignment. I have to meet an older person. And my mother, Vidit Prabhadevi centenary is being observed. And I have to visit the village. And I have been here right from the morning itself. So if you would, all of you, kindly excuse me. And I would like to congratulate all of you, especially the dancers who are here, and all the participants, the anchor person, everybody, each and one person, everyone, I'd like to thank honestly, and the organizers of this conference, Purbasha Priyadarshini and company. And I know that you will do well in future also. And so goodbye for the time being, and God bless. And you kindly excuse me. And I am here. I was here to witness some of the programs also, but sadly, unfortunately, I will not be able to witness other programs. But I want to wish all of you all the very best, and the organizers in particular.
Thank you very much, sir, for being here with us from the morning till this evening. We would have been more obliged if you would have stayed for at least 30 minutes, but it's not a big deal. We would manage in your absence too. We would miss you, but we would enjoy in your absence. I in fact wanted to make you dance at the end of the session, at the formal session is over, but my bad luck, I'm not going to get a chance. Thank you very much. But I would like to say something about Rudrani. Ladies and gentlemen, she's just a first-year girl. And she's justifying the thing that we are talking about. We need to make the logo being recognized in the global. Look at the costume, look at the jewelry, look at the sari, look at the elegance she's carrying, look at the expression she's giving to her eyes. I hope that all my students have captured her posture and gesture is amazing. Those need to be captured. Thank you very much, Rudani. It was beautiful performance, and I need to correct myself that it was not a semi-classical performance, it was a classical performance, a beautiful performance. Thank you very much. And now we have the next segment, a skit. The students of this department have taken a lot of pain to prepare the skit. Your examinations is going on, I understand. So you have taken a lot of pain to prepare the 7 ages of skit. It's from Shakespeare's As You Like It. Guys, are you ready? All the performers who are in the 7 ages, are you ready? By the time they take the stage, I'd like to let you know that it is from Shakespeare's As You Like It, and it describes life as a theatrical performance where humans as players pass through 7 distinct inevitable stages, that is infant, schoolboy, lover, then soldier, justice, pantaloon, finally oblivion. So here we go, beautiful students of this department in varieties of costume I could see. So you adjust your settlement. I don't know what you are exactly going to do. I give the forum to all of you. I just need entertainment for my audience, and that's what I'm going to get. Thank you very much.
So it's a dialogue exchange between Duke Senior and Orlando. All the walls are stage, and all the men and women merely plays. They have the exits and the entrances, and one man in his time plays many parts, his acts being 7 ages. First, the infant, mewling and puking in the nurse's arms. Then, the whining schoolboy with his satchel and shining morning face, creeping like a snail, unwillingly to school. And then the lover, sighing like a furnace. And then the lover, sighing like a furnace with a woeful ballad, made to his mistress' eyebrows. Then a soldier, full of strange oaths, bearded like the bar, jealous in honor, sudden and quick in quarrel, seeking the buried reputation even in the cannon's mouth. And then the justice, in fair round belly, with a good cape and line, with eyes severe and beard of formal cut, full of wise saws and modern instances, and so he plays his part. The sixth is shifts in the lean and slippered pantaloon, with spectacles on nose and pouch on side. His youthful hose, well saved, a wall too wide for his shrunk shank, and his big manly voice turning again towards childish trebles, pipes, and whistles in his sound. Last scene of all, the hints the strange, eventful history. His second childishness and mere oblivion. Sans teeth, sans eyes, sans taste, sans everything.
That was really a small skit, but carrying very significant message. You in fact connect it to Buddhism. You in fact connect it to of life. That's from the 7 stages. It talks about schoolboy. I would comment on that. It should not be 7 stages. It talks about schoolboy. I would comment on that. It should not be schoolboy. It should be school kid. Why not a girl? We're talking about subaltern voices. So obviously it could be a school kid, not schoolboy. In those times, Shakespeare's time, it was a very long ago. So that time patriarchy was in a prevalent stage. But right now, I would like to correct if I have the power from schoolboy to school kid. But amazing performance, beautiful performance, showing us 7 different stages of human life. We should not take pride of any stage that is going to change that message we get from the script. And I think Sucheta madam has coordinated and in fact prepared the skit, taking all the students, and I congratulate her. She has done a good job. Even at this tight schedule, she had prepared the skit. Thank you very much. Next, we would move towards the cultural segment of Odisha. There is a beautiful girl, Borsa. She is an alumni of this department. Borsa, are you there? Could I see your face? Oh, beautiful lady, I could see. So she is going to present a pure classical performance on Kahi Gole Murali Phunka. Look at the girl, the costume. I get mesmerized when I see such beautiful girls with beautiful costume. I get mesmerized of your eyes. So all the boys and girls and ladies and gentlemen, get yourself ready to be killed by her expressions through eyes. Here we go.
कही गले कही गले मुरली फुफा युवती रसिया कामिनी रंका कही गले मुरली फुफा युवती रसिया कामिनी रंका कही गले मुरली फुफा त्रिभंगी भंगी रे मुरली बजाई त्रिभंगी भंगी रे त्रिभंगी भंगी रे मुरली बजाई डाकू थांती आस 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 राधिका कही गले मुरली बजा युवती रसिया कामिनी रंका कही गले मुरली बजा गोपपुरे पशि गोपींक मंदिरे दही दूध खाई छिड़ांती शिखा गोपपुरे पशि गोपींक मंदिरे दही दूध खाई छिड़ांती शिखा गोपपुरे पशि गोपींक मंदिरे दही दूध खाई छिड़ांती शिखा गोपपुरे पशि गोपींक मंदिरे दही दूध खाई छिड़ांती शिखा गोपपुरे पशि गोपींक मंदिरे दही दूध खाई छिड़ांती शिखा गोपपुरे पशि गोपींक मंदिरे दही दूध खाई छिड़ांती शिखा गोपपुरे पशि गोपींक मंदिरे दही दूध खाई छिड़ांती शिखा गोपपुरे पशि गोपींक मंदिरे दही दूध खाई छिड़ांती शिखा गोपपुरे पशि गोपींक मंदिरे दही दूध खाई छिड़ांती शिखा गोपपुरे पशि गोपींक मंदिरे दही दूध खाई छिड़ांती शिखा गोपपुरे पशि गोपींक मंदिरे दही दूध खाई छिड़ांती शिखा যমুনা কূলরে বস্ত্র চোরি করে যমুনা কূলরে বস্ত্র চোরি করে কেলি কদম্বরে বাঁধে পতাকা কাহি গলে মুরলি যুবতী রাশিয়া কামিনী রঙ্কা কাহি গলে মুরলি ফুকা पाद पानी बंका नुपुर ही बंका चूल ही बंका ता चाहनी बंका पाद पानी बंका नुपुर ही बंका चूल ही बंका ता चाहनी बंका बंकी माधरे मुरली बजाई बंकी माधरे मुरली बजाई डाकू थांती आस 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 राधिका कही गले मुरली फुका युवती रसिया कामिनी रंका कही गले मुरली फुका मीन भतारे सागर भितरे ब्रह्मांक छलारे मारिल शंका मीनवतारे सागर भितरे ब्रह्मांक छलारे मारिल शंका ত্রেতয়া যুগরে রাম অবতারে ত্রেতয়া যুগরে রাম অবতারে জানকী ছଳରେ পড়িল লঙ্কা কাহি গলে মুরলি ফুঙ্কা কাহি গলে মুরলি ফুঙ্কা যমুনা কূଳରେ কদম্ব মূଳରେ হর গৌরীয়ে পূজিবা লঙ্কা হর গৌরীয়ে পূজিবা লঙ্কা বলে বনমালী সে পাদে শরণ বলে বনমালী সে পাদে শরণ কাহি গলে মুরলি ফুঙ্কা যুবহি গলে মুরলি ফুঙ্কা যুবতা কাহি গলে মুরলি ফুঙ্কা যুবতী রাশিয়া কামিনী রঙ্কা ফুঙ্কা যুবতী রাশিয়া কামিনী রঙ্কা কাহি গলে প্রিয়া কামিনী রঙ্কা কাহি গলে মুরলি ফুঙ্কা কাহি গলে মুরলি ফুঙ্কা যুবতী রাশিয়া কামিনী রঙ্কা কাহি গলে মুরলি ফুঙ্কা যুবতী রাশিয়া কামিনী রঙ্কা কাহি গলে মুরলি ফুঙ্কা।
Thank you, Barsa. If Radha could be that much of graceful, I don't think Krishna could go away anywhere. Jokes apart, thank you very much for this beautiful performance. In fact, this is the credit of Odissi dance. You cannot take your eyes off. You cannot take away your attention. You were just mesmerized. You were just captured on the dancer itself. Male, female, it doesn't matter. The grace, the charm, it carries the culture in itself in every beat. That is the beauty. Thank you, Barsa, for gracing this occasion with your beauty and grace. Amazing performance. I congratulate you. And we have next Sambalpuri girls group dance by Shriti Jaina, Ankita Sahu, Bishi Arpita, Soumya, Preeti Arpita, Upashna, and Rudrani. And they say it's a Pancharasa, a mix of 5 Sambalpuri songs talking about ecological importance. Girls and boys, are you ready? Oh, I could see Sambalpuri costume. Girls are moving towards the stage. How about the boys? Yes, boys are also on the costume, creating a serene, a beautiful atmosphere. Are you all set? Girls, are you all set? Are you all set? What are you waiting for? We cannot wait looking at your costume. We are excited to listen to you, to see your performance. How about boys? Are you all set? Shall we start? Okay, cue music.
রসর কেলিব এ বড় বড় জিরা নদী ঝিলিমিলি পানি রে ঝিলিমিলি পানি পানি রস ভরি রসর কেলি গাউথিসি ননি খলিয়া খুসা মুলকি হসা পিঁধি সবটা পরি অটা ভাঙি নাচি দেশি কিন্দিরি কিন্দিরি উস্পুনি কে সাজে ধনু যাতরা ধনু যাতরা তিহারে সাজে ধনু যাতরা পুষ্পুনি কে সাজে ধনু যাতরা তিহার ভিতরে হীরা কে দেখাইনে মারে বড়গড় হাটু ঘিনি দেমি তো বড়গড় হাটু রে বড়গড় হাটু ঘিনি দেমি তো বড়গড় হাটু ঘিনি দেমি তো ঝুমকা লগা পয়েরি কে রসর কে লিবো হাসরে মায়েলা জোড় উড়ুছে দেখো সুখটি হারে মায়েলা জোড় আমার তো রাজে পড়ে না রে মায়েলা জোড় উড়ুছে দেখো সুখটি হারে মায়েলা জোড় ঘর ননি শিকার ভাত নাই খোয়ালে ঘিচি নে মুকানি সতে খটি যা শুরু ননি সতে খটি যা শুরু ননি আমর গাঁ কে ধন माटी पानी कहा के मिले हो माँ सोमोलेर देशे अरे एंता माटिर पानी कहा के मिले हो माँ सोमोलेर देशे भावर बंधन चहट चंदन भावर बंधन चहट चंदन आरे बासुथिसी मोह मोहरे आमर आदर व्यवहार हीरा खणर छुआ आमे सभे हो इटा सरगरपुर आमर कला संस्कृति गामर गीत साहित्य झुमी नाची गाउथी मागा सहमित आमर साहा छे सरब सहिनी माँ समलेश्वरी तार पन तले जाऊ जीवन
I'm disappointed. I'm utterly disappointed. I was not expecting it to finish. You were just going on performing this, and I was literally dancing here. That is the beauty of tribal folk dance songs. The instruments, the beats itself won't let you stand alone. You were just gonna dance. And that is the beauty, the costume, the instruments, everything make you dance as well and just flow on the beats. Thank you very much, girls. We are expecting one more performance from all of you. That was amazing. You took the show. Thank you. What could I say after that? Such a beautiful, magnificent performance. Next, we have a duet song by Jagadish and Abhilasha. I'm correct to name you Abhilipsa. I'm correct? Am I correct? Abhilipsa? Okay, Abhilipsa and Jagdish, they are going to present a duet song.
वतन मेरे आबाद रहे तू, ए वतन वतन मेरे आबाद रहे तू, मैं जहाँ रहूँ जहाँ में याद रहे तू, मैं जहाँ रहूँ जहाँ में याद रहे तू, ए वतन मेरे वतन, ए वतन मेरे वतन, तू ही मेरी मंजिल है पहचान तुझी से, तू ही मेरी मंजिल है पहचान तुझी से, पहुँचूं मैं जहाँ भी मेरी बुनियाद रहे तू, पहुँचूं मैं जहाँ भी मेरी बुनियाद रहे तू, ए वतन मेरे वतन, ए वतन मेरे वतन, तुझ पे कोई गम की आँच आने नहीं दूँ, तुझ पे कोई गम की आँच आने नहीं दूँ, कुर्बान मेरी जान तुझ पे साद रहे तू, कुर्बान मेरी जान तुझ पे साद रहे तू, ए वतन मेरे वतन, ए वतन मेरे वतन, ए वतन वतन मेरे आबाद रहे तू, मैं जहाँ रहूँ जहाँ में याद रहे तू, ए वतन मेरे वतन, ए वतन मेरे वतन।
Thank you, girls and boys, for bringing us back to the ground. We were just swaying on the air by the moves of some flies, and we are grounded now. We have the last performance, a Sambalpuri flies, and we are grounded now. We have the last performance, a Sambalpuri duet dance by Shriti, Ankita, Bishi, Arpita, Divya, Debraj, and Nayan. Are they ready? They are going to take some minutes to get ready. What should he do? Oh, shall I sing a song? I'll sing a song. Am I? Okay. Okay. Let me have some water. Okay. So it's a Chile girl song, and rock it with girl, bang it with girl, sew it with girl, bada bang bang bang, dance it with girl, sew it with girl, now do it girl, bada bang bang bang. Come on, turn the radio on, it's Friday night and I won't be long. Gotta do my hair, put my makeup on. It's Friday night and I won't be alone till I hit the dance floor, hit the dance floor. I go whining. No, I ain't got cash, but I got you, baby. Baby, I don't need dollar bills to have fun tonight. Baby, I don't need dollar bills to have fun tonight. I don't need no money as long as I keep moving. Come on, turn the radio on. It's Saturday and I won't be alone. Come on, turn the radio on. It's Saturday and I won't be alone. Gotta paint my nails, put my high heels on. It's Saturday. Gotta paint my nails, put my high heels on. It's Saturday and I won't be alone till I hit the dance floor, hit the dance floor. I go whining. No, I ain't got cash, but I got you, baby. Baby, I don't need dollar bills to have fun tonight. Thank you, girls. Thank you, girls. Thank you very much. Can we have the next performance now, please? I cannot sing anymore. How about the girls? Are you ready for the duets dance? Is there anyone who could sing a song or can entertain us in any way by the time we get our next performance? I said, is there anyone who could sing or entertain us for a few moments by the time we get our next performers? Are you listening, girls and boys? Are you listening? Can you sing a song? Anyone can sing Sambalpuri song? Could you please let me dance, sway the moves after this? I would definitely like to learn the steps that you're doing. Could you sing a Sambalpuri song? No one? How about this Ekda Ekda Ra, that's so popular? Anyone does have any idea? Do you have any idea? No? That's so sad. You were just breaking down my mood. You're mood breakers, you know? You're just mood breakers. You can't match up my oars that I have got right now. What should he do? No one is there to sing a song? How sad. Chati mora dulikilla, pansupari khaire gori malkilla. Chati mora dulikilla, pansupari khaire gori malkilla. Malkidala malkidanga hai. Malkidala malkidanga naigala jumura. Yakda yakda ra re pila, yakda yakda ra. Yakda yakda ra re pila, yakda yakda ra. I don't know anything after that. That's what I can sing right now. You all are mood breakers. No cooperation, nothing else. To what extent I can go, I don't have that much of short memory to go on singing the full song. At the back, I again repeat, do we have the duet performers ready? The duet performers, are you ready? Sambalpuri duet dance performers, are you ready? We cannot wait. We have already killed the time of precious Saroj Mahananda sir. He's just getting bored by my talks and I don't want to bore him anymore. We're just anxiously waiting to have your performance. Are you ready, guys? How long will I take the stage and entertain all of you? Dr. Purvasha, you just get engaged in taking photographs and your guests are entertaining your audience here. Jokes apart, serious note, how much time are you going to get? Can I know how much time? Are they ready? Madam, are they ready? We still are going to get 5 minutes. After song, there is no mood for poetry. Do you have a mood for poetry? I don't think so. गीत तो परे आओ poetry रो mood नहीं. हाँ? हाँ मुझे जानी नहीं बा सही दीटा जानी थी हाँ मुझे जानी थी सिना कोऑपरेट करियो तो जानी नहीं आव गीत मु जानी जहाँ सब पुराना पुराना गीत झुमका गिरा रे बरेली के बाजार में झुमका गिरा झुमका आए हाय हाय झुमका गिरा रे झुमका अब गिर गया अब ढूंढो उसको गिर गया jokes apart there is a piece of information some girl a friend she lost her scooty key and her bag has been exchanged with somebody else could you please see your bag and could you please check it out and if you find the scooty key it'll be a great help if you give us to that our friend be a great help if you give us to that our friend scooty key ता बैग रखिला ता बैग टा एक्सचेंज हो जाई कहा सहित प्लीज तम मानकर बैग टिके चेक करके कुह तो तम बैग टा एक्सचेंज हेनी तो जो माने किट पाई छ आज सेमिनार किट पाई छ सेथिरे किछि स्कूटी की अछि की अब आ भी जाओ यार कितना देर लगाओगे आओ हुजूर तुमको सितारों में ले चलूं दिल झूम जाए ऐसे बहारों में ले चलूं कहाँ कहाँ ले जाऊं मुझे ये भी नहीं पता मैं बस इंतजार करूं कब आ जाओ कितना गाऊं कितना क्या करूं You guys are too unprofessional, you know? Too unprofessional. Now come, hurry up. We are waiting for you. Are you the guys? Are you going to play the song? Dance? Since when boys do get so much of time to get ready? I don't see any boy to get ready and take so much of time killing the mood of the session. You're mood killers. Are both of you going to perform? Or anyone else left? तमे दी जण प्रेजेंट करिवो ना के अछि Where is Ankita? Ankita, could you hear me? Ankita, are you Ankita? Okay. So can we have your song? Is that ready? Okay. No ma'am, no ma'am. Who else is left? No, wait. Now, who is that president for whom we are waiting? I just want to see her face. Seriously, guys, be a little bit a professional. She even doesn't mind that I'm talking to her. She doesn't know I'm talking to her. Look at the graceful way she's walking so slow. Okay, find me. Ready? Okay.
লতা মোর গজমুখু তালু কহ পদে মিঠা কথা লবঙ্গ লতা মোর গজমুখু তালু কহ পদে মিঠা কথা এ মানি যা কথা মোর মানি যা কথা লবঙ্গ লতা মোর গজমুখু তালু কহ পদে মিঠা কথা লবঙ্গ লতা মোর গজমুখু তালু কহ পদে মিঠা কথা এ মানি যা কথা মোর মানি যা কথা রঙ্গবতী রঙ্গবতী তিরঙ্গবতী।
Ladies and gentlemen, after this warm performance by all of us, the moment is too high right now, but the session is over. Thank you very much for joining us and making this mood a little bit more heightened. Thank you, Professor Suraj Mahananda sir, for making us enjoy this moment and being with us and dance with us. Beautiful moment. Dr. Purvasa, should we call it a day today now? Okay, thank you very much. So we call it a day right now. After a while,